everybody, welcome back to Umineko. Today we are finally embarking on the tea party, the final part of Umineko episode 4. I am very excited. And as always, if you like my content, if you like to support me, please consider giving this video a like or commenting or subscribing. It really helps a lot and I really appreciate it. But also, if you already didn't know, I stream on Twitch every Friday or Saturday at 10 p.m. JST. And we also do have a Discord server if you are interested. In any case, I'll put the links down in the description or in the comments below, and feel free to check it out. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get right into today's episode. October 5th, 1986. Oh my god, the clock. The clock scares me so much. What time? The next day? It's the next day. How many days? I don't have a clue what to make of all this. Please, someone explain what happened yesterday in a way that I can understand. I continued helping myself to the food in the mansion's kitchen. That massive commercial refrigerator had everything. I could eat and drink as much as I liked. I'd have more than enough to eat, even if the typhoon didn't clear up for a week. Thinking about it, but what's left of the people on the island, known humans on the island? Battler and Maria only, right? Let's not count the witches, cause I still don't know whether they are real people or not. With a bottle in one hand, half of which I'd already drunk, I helped myself to some sliced ham. I wonder just how expensive this stuff is. Man, you ingredients are out of luck. If only you had Gohda Sun cook you, you could have been reborn as much more incredible food. I looked at the clock. Very soon, it would be midnight. October 5th, second day, would end. The insanity of yesterday's October 4th didn't seem real. That was how little had happened after my so-called test. Nothing was happening. No phone calls, no letters, no one coming to see me, no one coming to attack me. Not a goddamn thing. Give me back all the time and energy I wasted being on edge. An entire day, a full 24 hours, and absolutely nothing happened. And I'm sure that nothing will continue to happen as well. What's wrong with Battler? A full 24 hours ago, I was called to the front of the mansion by Beatrice. There, I was given some kind of weird test to do with determining the successor to the head or something. I gave a serious answer in my own way, but unfortunately, we just didn't seem to be getting each other. Beatrice got bent out of shape for no reason and stopped talking to me. I yelled at her to say something, but she wouldn't say a word. Then I asked where Maria was, and she just told me to go to the chapel and went away. What an astounding anticlimax. Stupid as it was still a test. So at least tell me whether I've passed or failed for hell's sake. What is she trying to say? Good work, your results will be mailed to you later, or something? Annoying bitch. In any case, I then headed to the chapel. Both George and Aniki and Jessica had been killed after failing their tests. I couldn't let Maria be killed too. Besides, I thought this could be the chance to catch whoever it was while they were in the process of trying to kill Maria. When I was young, Jessica often told me that I'd get in trouble if I went near the chapel, and this is a chapel. This is a picture in Kumasawa's photograph. So I'd never been there, but I at least knew where it was. I couldn't sense anyone there, but there was a bundle of keys lying in front of the door. What the fuck? What? I thought this might be a message to open a door to the chapel, but after trying all of the keys, I found none of them fit. I also called Maria's name, but there was no answer whatsoever. I searched around the chapel, but there was a limit to what I could do in the pitch black with just a flashlight. I realized that this key bundle might be a set of master keys, which could possibly open a door to the mansion. Finding no sign of Maria, I returned to the mansion. The mansion was wrapped in silence, and in a horrible stench. Still, it's pretty amazing how good humans are at adapting. Technically, that smell was still pervading the entire mansion, but I'd grown completely used to it and stopped minding it by this point. It didn't feel like anything more than an old house where someone had burnt some meat. The stench knocked me back on first entering, but I ignored it and decided to head to the dining hall, where I found all those corpses that were in such a sorry state that Gohda Sun and Kumasawa Sun had hesitated to speak of them in any detail. I heard the droplet sound. I'm gonna check the character menu for that. Alright, as I suspected, only when Battler, our detective, comes into contact with the corpses can he or the character menu actually update itself. Still though, the witch's side, I feel... Oh, no, never mind. Every witch is shown up here. I'm not really sure anymore. Anyway, let's look at Natsuhi. Corpse discovered in the dining hall. Her head was half destroyed. It seems reasonable to think that she was murdered with something like a powerful gun. However, the witnesses don't believe that she was killed with a gun. Same thing with Eva, same thing with Hideyoshi, no? No, wait, something's a little different. Oh, no, is it the same? Wait, I need to read it. It seems reasonable to think that she was murdered with something like a powerful gun. No, it's the same, right? Why is it... I'm just kind of, Okay, never mind. It's the same. I just got thrown off by the difference in the length of this paragraph. You seem George. Rudolph also the same. Rosa also the same. Genji also the same. Okay. They were the remains of the very first victims, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest. Each of them had half their heads dramatically splattered out. And it was such a gruesome sight that even without knowing a thing about examining corpses, I could pronounce them 100% dead. And on top of that, the remaining half of their faces were left like normal, so it was even easy to identify them. They really pulled out all the stops for these corpses. And finally, the bodies here weren't just the 6 of the first twilight. They had grown in number and now included one more. The 7th corpse was... Maria! Holy shit, okay. She was lying next to Aunt Rosa as though sleeping alongside her. Okay, this one we need to see. Yoshinomiya Maria. Corpse discovered in the dining hall. Unable to locate any notable external wounds, Battler speculated that it may have been some type of poisoning, the most peaceful method of inviting a person to the Golden Land. Okay, so Maria was probably poisoned then. I cried at the death of an innocent young girl, and at the cruel way my dad and the others had died. I ran about the mansion swinging my headstand spear, yelling, "Come out here, you bastard!" Okay, but thinking about it, Maria shouldn't have been there, but she is there. Someone could have killed her. If not, Maria could have killed herself willingly to get to the Golden Land. But there was absolutely no sign of anyone else. Thinking that they might be hiding somewhere and scheming to attack me from behind, I went around searching for possible hiding places. Sometimes being cautious, sometimes intentionally letting my guard down, trying all kinds of things, but in the end, not so much as a kitten appeared. Then morning came. My tension and fatigue, mixed together with drowsiness, made for the worst kind of dawn. This has to be the first time Battler, of all people, made it out alive, right? And no one died? I mean, well, no, sorry. I mean, someone made it out alive. Aside from Eva, of course. And, no one else died. Humans are pretty incredible. Even though I didn't know where the hell the murderer was hiding, I was prioritizing drowsiness and fatigue over worrying for my own life. By this time, I was starting to feel pretty ridiculous. I had walked around the mansion for a full 6 hours until dawn broke, yelling at them to show themselves. I had done a painstaking search, tired myself out, and even let my guard down. Still, no one was coming to attack me. And so at that point, I just said, screw it, do whatever you want. The boat wouldn't come until the typhoon passed. They were saying on TV that it wouldn't pass until tomorrow, so I had a whole day to waste. The idea of just lazing about didn't seem very appealing. So even though I knew it would probably make the police mad, I decided to play detective a bit. First, the dining hall where the very first murders occurred. The 6 who were killed in the beginning really were pitiful to look at. The weapon was probably a gun. Maybe their heads were split by something powerful like a magnum bullet or a shotgun. That seemed like valid reasoning. In comparison, Maria, who was the 7th body, had died in a far better and cleaner way. At a glance, there were no external wounds, and it wasn't clear how she had been killed. But there were signs that bubbles had been foaming from her mouth, and it looked like a typical death by poisoning that you might see on a TV drama. Wasn't Maria called out to the chapel and given her test there? Then why is she here in the corpse-filled dining hall, lying next to a mother, dead? I have some speculating that possibly Maria went there and killed herself to lie next to her mother. Or it could be the murderer placing herself next to Rosa. But still, if we think or assume that the murderer is Beatrice, I can't help but wonder why she would put Maria next to Rosa, considering she knows that Maria actually hates Rosa. And it's only the good Rosa that Maria loves. I can't understand the murderer's intention. Assuming that the cause of death was poison, who gave it to her? Her clothes aren't disturbed at all. It's hard to imagine that she was forcibly pushed down and given an injection of poison. It's probably better to assume that she was given a poison capsule or something and made to swallow it. That said, compared to the violently mutilated corpses scattered about this room, Maria's corpse was far too clean. With a gun, all you need to do is pull the trigger. A poison, whether injected or made to be swallowed, would take a lot more effort. Bearing in mind the culprit's brutal nature, too, I felt that Maria's death alone had clearly been given special treatment. Why was Maria alone given a sleep-like death? Exactly, and that's why I just can't help but feel like it's either Maria herself or someone has some sort of intention. She was killed, so in that sense, I still felt very sorry for her. There can be no doubt about that. For some reason, the manner of Maria's murder in particular seemed very courteous to me. Maria had her hands joined on her chest in a way that the dead often do. Did Maria do that herself before dying? Isn't this usually done by someone else after the person dies? No, that is interesting information. If Maria did die in that manner, then definitely suggest that someone else was there after she had died and did it for her. Or I guess it still could be that Maria took a pill herself and then did it herself. But knowing that Maria's a kid, she probably didn't think that far ahead, and she probably wouldn't have done that. Maria was resting in peace as though sleeping together with her mother, whose head was half crushed. For some reason, the contrast really bugged me. There are probably a lot of mysteries surrounding Maria's death, starting with the cause. And more than anything else, the biggest mystery of this dining hall was the pitfalls. The pitfalls that both Uncle Krauss's group and Gohda Sun's had mentioned. After the 6 had been killed, 5 more had fallen through pitfalls and had been captured. What are pitfalls? Those things that suddenly open and you fall through them, right? The floor was firmly laid with a majestic, if a bit worn out, carpet. It was clearly a single piece. If pitfalls are meant to open up in it, there would have been a seam in that one place. And anyway, if there was some trick like a pitfall, wouldn't it creak when you walked on it? No matter how much I walked over or ran my hands over the carpet, I just couldn't imagine that a pitfall was hidden there. In the first place, it would be one thing if a single person had fallen, but it was a full 5 people. From what I could piece together from all of their stories, each one of them had fallen from a different location. So at the very least, there had to be 5 separate places concealing pitfalls. So what does this mean? Was this room actually made with pitfalls across the entire floor? So that with a single button press, you could open up a pitfall in the location of your choice, some kind of contraption like that. That kind of ridiculous mechanism would be surprising, even in a ninja mansion. But even so, if Dad and the rest heard about this, maybe they'd say, I wouldn't put it past Grandfather. You bet he'd do this, he'd make this. In any event, I didn't learn anything more than that from the dining hall. Do the pitfalls not exist? Or do they exist, but I just can't find them? Amateur that I am. I can't say for sure. Since they claimed that the pitfalls were there, I can't ignore the pitfalls even if I can't find them. The devil's proof? The next ones to be killed had been Jessica and George Aniki. I don't like this track because it really is very creepy. I'd already discovered George Aniki when I was called out for my test. He was called out to the arbor in the rose garden and shot in the forehead, probably with a gun. Witness. As for Jessica, she was called to her own room on the 2nd floor of the mansion. I found the door to her room locked. But that wasn't a problem at all since I had the master keys. Another locked room. Oh my god. And the inside of the room was horrible. But the corpse was nothing I hadn't already familiarized myself with in the dining hall, so I built up a bit of immunity. If you can see at the top right, there's like a blood splatter on the wall, right? Maybe she was shot in the forehead and she toppled over. Maybe it could be part of the scuffle she was in with Renove. I'm not really entirely sure why there's blood there, but interesting information nonetheless. The phone receiver was dangling off the hook because she last called Krauss and the rest, right? Was she killed while on the phone with me? Okay, no. I'm getting my facts mixed up now. Jessica was leaning against the wall right next to it, with half of her head splattered out. As far as I could tell by looking at the scene, it looked as though she had been killed while on the phone. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. In that case, had the culprit been there before our eyes? I hadn't gotten that impression from Jessica's voice over the phone. I'm pretty sure Jessica said, "They got me." It's probably best to assume that she had already received a fatal wound at the time of the phone call. That's right, and she also said this.
バトラが来た時には、私は頭を半分ぶちまけた死体だよ。
Supposedly, Jessica is supposed to be dead, right? When she called Battler? Yes, she definitely said that. From what I could tell by looking at Jessica's corpse, there was no wounds on her other than a damage to her head. Then she was injured seriously enough that she sealed herself for death, and then died halfway through the phone call? But it feels like, the way she was talking on the phone, she was out of danger for the time being. You shouldn't be able to have a casual conversation over the phone if the killer is right in front of you. So did the culprit come partway through a phone call and kill her? No, that can't be right. After all, this room was locked. No like hell that counts or anything. If the culprit had stolen the master key from one of the victims, the fact that it was locked is meaningless. But there are no external wounds other than her head. In which case, should I assume the fatal wound she was prepared to die from and the actual wound that destroyed her head were two different events? Both of them made to the same part of the body? What the heck? What? In other words, Jessica was struck severely to the head and received an incredibly bad wound. Then she called me and either lost consciousness or died while on the phone. Then the culprit came and destroyed her head for real, or something. My god. After being called to this room, Jessica was attacked by the culprit and seriously injured. And the culprit thought they'd killed her and went away for the time being. But then Jessica miraculously started breathing again and called me with a literal dying message. Then the culprit realized that they had failed in killing her and rushed back to deliver the final blow to Jessica, who had lost consciousness from a massive blood loss. That seems to make sense, more or less, and that's something that I'm inclined to believe in as well. Except for how Jessica was able to accurately predict the form of that final blow. And there was one more thing that bugged me about the phone call from Jessica. Jessica said this.
庄司兄さんもダメだった。ありゃ即死だ。
If you didn't know the context or what we saw, that is truly suspicious. She said it almost as though she had witnessed George Aniki being killed. But while you certainly could see the rose garden from the window in Jessica's room, the arbor that George Aniki had been called out to was very far away. You could only just make out the roof. Add on the fact that it was the night of a typhoon, and it's very hard to imagine that she was able to witness everything that happened by the arbor from this window. And most important of all, Jessica left before George Aniki. So she shouldn't have known that George Aniki's test had taken place by the arbor. How did Jessica know that George Aniki had been killed? You know, okay. Oh, I heard that sound. I'm gonna check it out. But I want to say that I still find it really hard to kind of wrap my head around what exactly happened. Even though we saw, like, the magic, the portals, and everything, a part of me accepts it as a truth, even though realistically it probably isn't. But then, if not that, I don't know. I can't think of what other possible reasons it could be. Unless Jessica is in cahoots with someone, or, well, I don't know, something else happened. I mean, there are many ways I guess we could actually explain it, but a lot of them I think would involve doubting one of the 18 people on the island, which is something that Battler himself doesn't want to do. Okay, I think this was what was updated. Ushiromiya Kyrie, corpse discovered in a guest room inside the mansion. There was a single hole right in the center of her forehead. It seems reasonable to think that she was shot with a gun or something. A demon stick was rammed into her forehead, but it is difficult to imagine that this was the cause of her death. I didn't miss. I missed on purpose to torment her. Yeah. That kind of sounds like, you know, the Chester sisters. But I don't know. I'm inclined to believe that still the guns are how they went out, most likely, but the demon sticks are just there for decorative purposes, or to just bring to mind the epitaph. Like someone's like following the epitaph, but it's just for show. It's not for real. Then, in the course of my search of the entire mansion, I found Kiryu-san's corpse as well. She was in an old guest room tucked away on the first floor. this was where all of us relatives used to stay before the guest house was built. The situation of Kirie-san was just like Jessica's. She was probably killed during her phone call with me. The receiver was hanging untidily, and Kirie-san was collapsed beside it. Well, okay, I didn't think of it that way about the phone call thing, and it's probably just a coincidence, but come on, 2 coincidences, Battler? You were on a phone call with 2 people, and they both just mysteriously died and you didn't know how? Battler, do you have something you want to say? I'm kidding, but it's funny. Anyway, the way she had been killed was very different from Jessica. Her head wasn't smashed. Instead, something like a stake with an occult-like design was buried into her forehead. It was too gruesome for me, so I pulled it out. Oh, not that sound. It was only after pulling it that I realized that this might get me into trouble with the police later. So even though it was probably a little late now, I laid it by Kirie-san's side. Its tip was sharp and stained with enough blood that it must have penetrated fully to the brain. Is this the first time someone has ever pulled a stake out from, someone? The other times I remember it was because they just fell out on their own because it was kind of just loosely placed inside. But this might be the first time? Or was it in episode 2 of Shannon? I cannot remember. I didn't know what kind of metal it was made of, but it was about as heavy as a paperweight. Certainly, if you were stabbed all out with something like this, it might cause a terrible wound. I probably understood what this stake meant. Yeah, I know this. It's a method of killing from the 4th twilight onwards in the witch's epitaph. That gouge of a stake and kill thing. Probably. However, the human skull is very hard. Even with all one's strength, could you really pierce through it this sharply? I don't think so. Unless there's like something else. But like as a human being, could you pierce through a skull? I don't think so, and I think this is something that was brought out all the way back in episode 1 with Eva and Hideyoshi as well. No. The way I reason it, this stake wasn't the cause of death. It was just used to damage the corpse after death. She was probably killed by being shot with a gun or something, like George Aniki. And the stake was stuck into the hole left by the gun. Thinking about it that way, everything works out. But was Kirie-san really killed with a gun? She had said this on the phone as well. Kirie-san was under attack even though she was holed up inside a locked room. How? Right? How? And this room actually was locked. And she had said something about a golden thread-like thing flying in through the keyhole and attacking her. And in fact, there were 4 places around Kirie-san's corpse with holes that could have been caused by some kind of attack. Still, a golden thread attacked her through the keyhole? I looked at the door from Kirie-san's perspective. If it had been one of those old locks like you see in old mystery movies, where you can peek through to the other side, then you could understand that something might potentially have come through it. But even though the doors in this mansion were old-fashioned, the locks were the familiar average cylinder style that you could find in any normal house. In other words, there was no hole going all the way through by construction. So no matter how thin an object it might have been, it's impossible to imagine that it could have penetrated through the keyhole from the outside and attacked her. Cylinder lock. Keyhole? But Kirie-san had definitely said that something like a golden thread had flown in through the keyhole and spun around and around, aiming for her, attacking her. A golden thread attacking through the keyhole. I couldn't understand what it meant at all. I don't either. Well, okay, let's see what Battler has to say. Wait, actually, Kiryu-san predicted that I probably wouldn't be able to understand at all. And not just Kiryu-san, Jessica said it over the phone too. Huh. You know, my brain is just going to... potentially that they are in cahoots. That they are actually the culprits and they're just, spinning some sort of narrative. But like forgetting that there are no keyholes in the house. But then again, Battler might be cooking something up here as well. In thinking that it's probably some kind of code word. No. Since the very beginning, from the time we talked with Gohda-san and Kumasawa-san and got the phone call from Uncle Krauss's group, everyone has been saying the same consistent thing. Huh. Grandfather is summoning witches and demons and killing people with magic. We witnessed it happening with our very own eyes. Now I wonder if everyone is just in cahoots with each other and Battler is the only one that they're messing with. It's a very strange and odd prank. Anyway, no tricks, no illusions. No choice but to believe it. They all said it with one voice. When that mysterious woman calling herself Beatrice appeared, even I pretty much believed that she was a real witch and might start summoning goat monsters right and left. However, after being left alone for a whole day, once my feeling of tension faded completely, I had a level enough head to think that this was way too stupid to possibly be true. In that extraordinary situation where their lives were exposed to danger, did they just lose their heads a little and mistakenly think that a witch was attacking them with magic? But multiple people testified to the same effect, and on top of that, none of their opinions contradicted one another. If it had been a single person's statement, I'd be able to suspect that they just didn't see what they thought they saw. But doing that now is pretty difficult. Wait, well, there's a keyhole. Isn't that a keyhole? Then, right next to the back door, I found Uncle Krauss with his head half destroyed. Even though he'd escaped a dungeon of Kuwadorian and somehow made it out of the secret underground passage and all the way here, he was killed. It might have been a while, but does Battler know of Kuwadorian? How did he come to find out about it? There's so many things to keep in mind. Buried into the gruesome cross-section of his half-destroyed head was a stake with an occult design, just like the one that was driven into Kiryu-san's forehead. And in this situation, it was very hard to imagine that this stake was a murder weapon. He was killed with a powerful gun like the six in a dining hall, and after death, he was stuck with a stake like Kiryu-san. Still though, if it was a powerful gun like what Battler is proposing here, wouldn't you have heard the gunshot? I wonder if the golden threads that Kiryu-san spoke of attack Uncle Krauss too. Does there exist some kind of tool, like an endoscope, which is very thin but can be moved about at will? And that can also attack people? No way, I've never even heard of anything like that. But even so, if I voiced that suspicion to one of my relatives, perhaps they would say I wouldn't put it past grandfather to make one. Well, yeah, that's what everyone's been saying. Since I can't refute the existence of a golden thread X that can be moved at will and attack people, my only options are either to accept this completely incomprehensible weapon, or else to accept that these murders were committed with magic. To find the next corpse, I had to go out through the back door and search around outside of it. Behind the mansion, in the wild-grown bushes that were almost swallowed up by the forest, there was something like an old well. A well. and right next to it were the corpses of Dr. Nanjo and Shannon. Shannon, corpse discovered behind the mansion. Her head was half destroyed. It seems reasonable to think that she was shot with a gun or something. A demon stick was lying next to the corpse. The witnesses understand one thing at least. It was not the stake that killed her. Oh, that text at the bottom, always making some sort of comment. Let's look at Nanjo's. Corpse discovered behind the mansion. Okay, it's the same thing, but there's no comment here. I guess it's all tied into Shannon's one. Both corpses had their heads smashed, and there was a stick lying right next to each of their destroyed heads, though they weren't stuck in. All of the corpses were atrocious, but having to look directly at Shannon-chan's lovely face, half of which was blown off, was very painful. Then there was a well, inside which, I was told, was a secret underground passage to the mysterious mansion, Gohda. By this time, I was beginning to think that Beatrice and her accomplices might have used this underground passage to leave for Gohda. There were supposedly 10 or more of these guys, and I hadn't seen hide nor hair of any of them. It made a hell of a lot of sense to think they'd already escaped somewhere else. They had this typhoon to contend with. They couldn't go out to sea. Same for the forest. There was no way they could traverse such a deep, uncultivated forest on foot. In that case, there was only one place for them to go. The mysterious hidden mansion, Gohda. The secret underground passage at the bottom of the well. By this time, I had entirely lost my fear of being killed if I happened to come across the enemy. Screwing with me like this. This time, I'll march into your mansion. Is it locked? The old well had a firm cover on it, huh? But it couldn't have been there, right? Since, well, Krauss and the others escaped from it. So who came back and put it on? The cover was an iron grill. The gaps between the bars were perhaps 20 centimeters square. You could peer inside, but it wasn't really something a human could pass through. If I hadn't known better, I wouldn't have thought it to be anything more than a simple cover to protect against falling in. But from what Kyrie-san had told me, I knew that it had been made to prevent intruders from entering the secret underground passage at the bottom. But the cover was fixed in place extremely firmly, and no matter how much I pushed or pulled, I couldn't even get close to removing it. I couldn't find any obvious lock. Maybe it was sealed by some mechanism. But no matter how much I investigated it, I couldn't find anything to release it. The underground passage in this well is the biggest piece of information I have that Kyrie-san gambled her last moments trying to tell me about.
こんな二程度で俺を阻めると思うんじゃねえぜ。こいつをぶち壊してやる。その道具を探そう。
I had an idea where to get one, because I'd seen the various tools in the gardening shed when we locked Gohda-san and Kumasawa-san in there. But the shutter to the gardening shed was locked. On top of that, the key was with Gohda-san, who was inside, dead. In other words, this gardening storehouse was a locked room. There was no way to open it from the outside. In that case, I would have to break the shutter. I wonder if there's a tool for that somewhere. It kind of felt like I was going in circles. Where is he going? Then, while searching for that, I learned that the source of the stench that had been permeating the mansion this whole time was the underground boiler room. I'm gonna guess we're gonna get another third grilled kinzo. The boiler room was dimly lit, humid, had a terrible stench, and on top of all that was incredibly creepy. But there were several large tools there, and I was able to find a fire hatchet and a massive bolt cutter. And grandfather's corpse too. Discovered as a burnt corpse from the incinerator in the underground boiler room. As there were no signs that he fought to get out of the incinerator, it seems reasonable to think that he was burned after he was murdered. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, the dead to the dead. Interesting. It's the same as always. Kinzo, always forever burned in the incinerator. He is probably dead, maybe. I feel like I change my answer all the time because it's so... There's just so many things that could be possibly true, I guess. But in any case, Kinzo is always discovered in the incinerator in the boiler room, which is one of the few, I think, consistent facts that are carried over through the different game boards. I feel like I have a bit of an idea why, but I'm gonna keep it a secret until my tea party. No, strictly speaking, I should probably say that I found the burnt corpse of a person who was probably grandfather. Someone's corpse had been stuffed into the blazing fires of the boiler. However, by coincidence, I was able to notice a number of toes on the corpse as always. Both feet had 6 toes. Yeah, actually, I might have heard that from Dad at some point long ago. Something about grandfather having polydactyly with extra toes. It was apparently an old Ushinomiya tradition for people with extra fingers or toes to be treated as a good omen, saying they had good fortune or something. And that's why grandfather was selected to be the next head or something along those lines. Wasn't it because everyone in the main family was, I think, died in the earthquake? Was it not? And grandfather was next in line? Was it not? Am I forgetting things? But I wonder if I can be certain that this is grandfather's body just from the number of toes. After all, grandfather was supposed to be the leader of the group of culprits. I don't have a clue why he'd be dead and stuffed in a boiler in a place like this. A mysterious corpse burning and belching out a terrible stench amid the flames. If it really was grandfather, did that mean that the leader of the group of culprits wasn't grandfather, but that Beatrice... After all, grandfather was used because he was convenient and was then thrown away at the end? Unfortunately, it didn't look like I'd be given a chance to hear grandfather's explanation. Now that I had obtained a tool, I thought about immediately taking on the cover to the well. But I decided to break the shutter to the gardening shed first. I had plenty of time to kill anyway. I thought I should check on the condition of Gohda Sun and Kumasawa Sun's corpses. I would probably freak out if their bodies are not inside. I hit the shutter with a hatchet, breaking into it, stuck the bolt cutter into the crack, and scissored it around, opening up a hole. Okay, it's still there. And we hear the sound again. I'm gonna check it again. Corpse discovered in the Rose Garden storehouse. It is hypothesized that he was shot in the forehead and then strung up by his neck. Okay, holy shit, now that is some new information. They themselves put their necks in the nooses. It was an interesting experience to try on occasion. And for her, it's the same thing. As long as a locked room could be constructed, anything would have sufficed. So, I guess I would say, based on this alone, that whoever it is that conducted these murders, the culprits, definitely are trying to construct a locked room. And like they say, anything would have sufficed as long as it's a locked room. But still, it begs the question, how? Well, the simplest thing I can think of, honestly, would be Kumasawa and Gohda putting themselves on the news on their own free will, in a way. Well, I guess it's arguable whether it's actually free will or not, but in any case, let's say they put themselves on the news, but they haven't killed themselves yet. For whatever reason, they have not killed themselves yet. And then the culprit comes in through the window and shoots them both. Probably threatening them for one reason or another. And so they willingly put themselves on the news. And once they are dead, they died. Well, there are a lot of holes in this theory. But it's the best I can do right now anyway. But I promise you, I will probably think of something better by the next part. Probably. Then I came face to face with Gohda-san and Kumasawa-san's corpses once more. As a result, I learned some new facts. First, they did not die by being hanged. Their feet were solidly on the floor. Oh, okay. Okay, so they're on the floor. Is that it? Then I think my theory might kind of make sense. And both of their foreheads showed signs that they had been shot with a gun. Well, now this is interesting information that Battler lacked from before. Before, I thought, and probably Battler thought the same thing, that they both hung themselves because they couldn't take the situation anymore. But now it's kind of clear as day that someone murdered them. When I thought about what a normal noose was like, the ropes seemed considerably on the long side. On top of that, the length was different on each to match the height of each person. So, what you're saying is that whoever is a culprit did it to match your height so that both of them will still have their feet on the ground, even after death. Obviously, there's a message that's trying to be conveyed over here. It could be as simple as the culprit just telling Butler, "Fuck you, I'm smarter than you, try and guess how they died," right? In other words, the lengths that had been adjusted so that both Gohda-san, who was tall, and Kumasawa-san, who was short, had their feet solidly but barely on the ground. Also, while the ropes carried both their weights as their heads lolled, both of them had some slack below their knees. Meaning that they could have stood up if they wanted to. Definitely saying that they did not die by being hanged? Yes. So definitely it was a gunshot, but they were made to stand in this position. Obviously, once they got shot and died, they landed into this natural position of looking like they were hanged. But definitely they were not, they did not die this way. This meant that if they stood upright with these nooses around their necks, there would be some extra length. In other words, these ropes were a bit unsuitable to hang someone with. The direct cause of death was probably the shot to the head. It was gruesome. Their insides were still dripping from those deep holes, staining their faces a deep red. Then they were hung up by their necks and left on display. That probably makes the most sense. Yeah, maybe? If they were shot with a gun, they would probably have been lying down on the floor. If that had been the case, you wouldn't have been able to tell if they were dead by peeking through the window. Huh. So you're saying that the culprit wanted to let Battler know how hopeless he is? That everyone that he cares for is dead and like visibly dead? The amount of stuff would have gotten in the way, so if they had been lying down, they would have been hidden. To make the death of these two known to the rest of us who couldn't get inside, they had to hang them like this so we could tell from the outside. Kind of feels like Battler is a little smarter now, and in turn also giving me a bit more hints as to why these things are happening. But still, well, yeah, a couple of messages, right? Maybe to tell Battler how hopeless he is, but also it could just be to tell Battler that, well, look, the epitaph is progressing as it should be, so you better watch out. Was this to get back at us for thinking that the two of them would surely be safe if we left the key with them? I wonder where the shutter key we gave Gohda-san, which should have ensured their safety, is now. That key was in his trouser pocket. The gardening shack key had been kindly left there, and even the tag was still attached. In other words, the gardening storehouse was the locked room after all. And that gave rise to another question, because this hanging was inexplicable. If they didn't commit suicide, the nooses were set up by the culprits. It might have been possible to shoot them through the window, but I really can't imagine that someone could have tied 2 ropes to the beam from the outside. And on top of that, they would have had to lift up the heavy corpses. There's just no way. I have a theory for this. Should I share it now? You know what? I'll just say it now. I said it before, actually, just now. But to me, it feels like the timeline, the sequence of event was more like that they themselves hung the nooses up and then the culprit shot them. As for why they did it, that's for later. In other words, to do all of this, they would have had to go inside. But the key was in Gohda-san's pocket and the shutter was still locked. In other words, the gardening storehouse was a locked room. Gohda-san had said that there were only 1 key for the shutter. But is it possible that there was a copy and that the culprit was in possession of it? If we were allowed to theorize that there were actually multiple gardening storehouse keys and that Gohda-san just didn't know about them, then this isn't even close to a locked room. True, that is one of the escape that Battler can make, I think. But why is it that, despite the fact that almost all of the other corpses were shot to death and left almost completely alone, these 2 corpses alone were intentionally hoisted up? I feel like Battler himself just answered that question, didn't he? I couldn't help but feel something a bit odd about that. Also, maybe punishment. That the culprit has strong feelings towards Kumasawa and Gohda. Assuming that the mystery corpse in the boiler was grandfather, the death of 16 people had now been confirmed. There were 18 people on this island. Wait, who's the last one that wasn't confirmed? That's me and 16 corpses. Oh, okay, Kanon-kun's corpse was the only one I hadn't been able to confirm yet. Oh, wait, why though? According to Kiryu-san, he was killed while climbing out of the well and fell down into it. Okay, that makes sense. So with the well closed up like this, it was impossible to check. Can't he just open it up, like with his tools? I tried shining a flashlight through the bars down into the darkness in the depths of the well. But it seemed that a jet black darkness had no intention of showing me its innermost depths with its inadequate light. It looked like I'd have to break the bars after all. Using the hatches and things I dragged out of the boiler room and the gardening shed, I tried to break the cover of the well. Oh. I think I was expecting something. Like a jump scare? The sound itself got me. But the metal bars were extraordinarily sturdy, and breaking them wasn't easy. I hit them with the hatchet over and over until my hands started feeling weird, and eventually gave up on breaking them. It was impossible. If they were at least wood, I might have been able to break them. But this metal... Yeah, there's no way you can slice through metal bars like butter with a human strength. I can't even begin to understand the story about how Kanon cut through the metal bars. What? Oh. She told me that a light like a red laser beam grew out of his arm, and he used it to slice through the metal bars like a knife through butter. Well, okay, if Kanon is human, he has no magic. And if Kanon has no magic, then it was just some sort of device that could slice through metal. That's all. Cutting through metal bars like butter? And what's with the red laser beam? Does that mean he snuck in a burner or something? And used that to burn through the bars? Still, just what kind of laser could cut through metal bars like butter? It sounds exactly like the kinds of laser beams that showed up in those robot anime I loved as a kid. Does stuff like that actually exist? And how did Kanon-kun get that laser beam? As much as I want to ask him, he's already been killed. Or so y'all think, but he may not actually be dead until we can ascertain his corpse. Plus, even his corpse is now at the bottom of the well beyond this cover. If Kanon-kun managed to slice through those metal bars, I'm sure he could handle this metal cover in a single swing. It kinda feels like the locked room just now, with Gohda-san locked inside the gardening storehouse, holding the key. Only one person can open a door, but they're locked inside. If only I had the power of Kanon-kun's, I could do something about this cover myself. Just who is Kanon-kun? Oh my goodness, asking the important questions right now. He couldn't really be an inhuman being capable of using a strange power, right? Even Kyrie-san told me to believe in witches, and I've also met an insane woman calling herself one. Could Kanon-kun possibly be a human on the witch side? Well, Kyrie is saying that, and a lot of people saying that to believe in witches just reminds me of episode 1's tea party where Jessica pleads with Battler not to believe in witches. And it was only after episode 1 that we started to see Battler being able to converse with Beatrice in a outside of the game board, which was kind of insane. And now I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, these people aren't even real? Or else, the culprit, Kanon-kun a culprit. What the heck? Am I gonna start treating him like the culprit just because I can't find his corpse?
Oh. 死体がないだけで犯人扱い。疑わしきは白だとほざいたのは誰だったよ。よかろう。カノンに全ての犯行を押し付けて人間犯人説にされてはかなわぬ。わらわが赤にて保証する。カノンは死亡している。キリエたち5人の中で一番最初に死亡した。つまりは9人目の犠牲者というわけだ。
Well, interesting. If he was the first to die, then how did the rest get out of the well, right? But more importantly, well, not more importantly, but if somehow there was no metal grill there and they managed to escape, who put it back, right?
死体がない以上、カノン君が死亡しているとは断言できない。
わらわが赤でささやいたところで駒であるそなたには届かぬ。だがそなたに届いたよな。
At a glance, this appeared to be a mass murder committed using something strange that could only be thought of as magic. Golden threads that attack through keyholes. No, we even had testimony that something gold had flown around the dining hall during the first six murders. The two might have been the same weapon. Then, there was the locked room murder of the garden shed, and the laser beam that could cut metal bars. And that wasn't all. There was much more, like a group of goat monsters, the talk of a witch who could create pitfalls just by snapping her fingers, the rabbit-like demons who had fired golden threads. I think there were more, and each and every one of them was ridiculous. I couldn't possibly accept it. I was forced to suspect that there was some kind of trick or mistake. But why in the world had everyone spoken with one voice, saying the same thing without contradictions in their testimony? Well, Battler, I have no idea too. I have no answer for you. Not right now anyway. It's not only the magic. Maria's mysterious death. Jessica somehow knowing that George Aniki had been killed. What if what I'm saying is true, and they are not even really real people, but rather people that were placed there to torment Battler? What if, I don't know, Jessica slipped up and said something that she should not have said, because that wasn't the role that she was supposed to play? I don't know. The mysterious burnt corpse, which I couldn't confirm, actually belonged to my piece of shit grandfather. He's not wrong. And more. All stuff I just don't get. I tilted the bottle and glugged it down noisily. I didn't have a clue what was going on. After dinner last night, we kids were shooed out of the mansion and told to go back to the guest house. And then there was a massacre in the dining hall. Thurs Sun and the rest were dropped through pitfalls and captured. Then Jessica and George Aniki were called out to a test or whatever and killed. Thurs Sun's group managed to escape the dungeon somehow, but all of them were killed in the end. And at the very end, even Maria was killed, leaving me all alone. In short, I had done nothing except be locked up in the guest house. During that time, a huge incident had occurred and ended before I knew it. And it's precisely because of this that it makes me wonder just how real everything was, you know? Everything could have been staged, and Battler wouldn't have a slightest clue about it, because he didn't see anything with his own eyes. Everything was always just, hearing from other people. What could I call it except incomprehensible? I don't have a clue anymore.
もう俺はただの食欲魔人なんだぜ。俺だけ生き残らせるつもりかよ。とっとと姿を現して殺しに来いってんだ。もう面倒だからこっちからは探さねえぞ。
I didn't say it in the last part of episode 4 in the ending with all the red text, but it kind of reminds me what Battler is saying here about what I think is Beatrice saying anyway, about just killing her quickly, and that she, I think, doesn't even care about the conclusion of the game, I think.
そっちから正体を見せやがるってんだ。俺は逃げも隠れもしねえぞ。矢でも鉄砲でも持ってきやがれ。
I haven't had any sleep since yesterday, and I'm tired as all get out. You wanna kill me? Be my guest. I decide to return to the guest house and boldly rest on a bed. As I exited the kitchen and passed through the lobby, a portrait of the witch came into view. The big clock did too. At that very moment, it was exactly midnight. Oh my god. Wait, why did that scare me? And the sound of the bell proclaiming that it was midnight rang out. As I listened, I looked up at Beatrice's portrait. Exactly 24 hours ago, I met you. What were you trying to say to me? And where did you go? Just who in the world are you? Golden Witch, Beatrice. I haven't solved a single one of the riddles surrounding you. Show yourself and fight with me. Huh? What's happening? Oh my god, what? I have chills, and chills in a bad way, cause I'm scared. Then the witch showed herself. Like a guest of honor, finally appearing, she showed herself on a landing at the top of the big staircase. Please be normal?
ようやく姿を現しやがったな。丸一日。退屈させられてたところだぜ。
そうだ。丸一日を与えた人間側の権利行使は十分。
ああ、退屈だったんでな。存分にやらせてもらったぜ。
エンジェは良い子まであったな。
エンジェの名をお前が口にするんじゃねえ。
あれは奇跡によって現れ、 自らを生贄にしてそなたに絶対の勝利の執念を与え
I have chills. Chills because I'm reminded of Enji.
エンジェの名を口にするな。
あの無残な死はそなたにとって必要なものだ。あの死を見なければそなたは本気にならない。
I don't know.
エンジェの幸薄き未来を自覚しなければそなたに勝利の執念は生まれない。
エンジェの名を口にするなと言っている。
つまりは必要な生贄だったというわけだ。そうでなくてはそなたにわらわを殺すほどの怒りは生まれない。わらわとそなたの拮抗が崩せない。ベルンカステル共鳴、これは駒ではない。切り札と呼ぶがふさわしい。駒はどれほど活躍しようとも盤上を離れることは。しかし切り札はどんな力を発揮しようとも切れば確実に捨てられる。エンジェはそなたにとって実に良き切り札だったのだ。
I don't know how Battler's gonna react. Beatrice has been clearly, openly, disregarding Battler's request.
エンジェの名を口にするんじゃな。
At Battler's outburst of rage, Beato finally stopped talking. I wonder if it's because she wants to rile Battler up, or if she's just being mean.
俺はな、こんなところで遊んでる暇はもう一切ねえんだ。引き分けすらもエンジェを待たせてる。俺はな、お前を打ち破り家族を連れて家に帰るんだよ。てめえと魔女ごっこで遊んでる暇は1秒たりともありはしない。
ならばどうすればよいか分かっているの。
ああ、お前をぶっ倒す。魔女も魔法も幻想も妄想も全て俺がぶっ飛ばす。さあ、おっ始めようぜ。もう二度とごまかさせない。ゲーム再開だぜ。お前という嘘っぱちを追う魔女のベールを俺が引き裂いてやる。
長いわ。素直に一言わらわを殺してやると言えばよい。
ああ、その言葉をお望みなら言って、俺が聞いてやる。お前の望みで最初で最後のものだ。
感謝する。
お前を
Read text.
殺す。
I will kill you.
ならばよし。
I want to say though, before we continue any further, that Battler, at least, well, you want to call it Game Boy Battler, he saw the witch, whoever the witch is, Beatrice, come down the stairs. But the witch that we see is, well, the Beatrice outside of the Game Boy, over here. So I guess they're leaving it kind of ambiguous. I don't know what's happening at the end of that part of the story anyway, because it seems like we're moving away from it.
始めようぞバトラ。さあ、魔女狩りの時間だ。わらわを追ってみろ、追い詰めてみろ、殺してみろ。妹の最後がそなたに何を与えたのか。
上等だ。
Battler's cry burned the whole world with a white light. And when one's eyes were opened to that brilliant light, the two of them could be seen in a rose garden. Golden Land?
先手はどちらから。
俺だ。
潔よし。
The rose garden where beautiful rose petals danced. The color of those rose petals was red. Was that a proof or simply a claim that the two of them facing each other in this beautiful rose garden was a red and only truth? That must be why the roses are red. Wasn't it gold before? But in the language of flowers, roses are passion, not truth. The flower for truth is a forget-me-not. That flower is blue. Ah, the blue truth.
俺の青き真実で全てをうがつ全ての一番最初のゲームから始めるぜ。
よかろう。そなたのお手並みを拝見来い。
行くぜ。すでに宣言済みだがもう一度言う。こいつは前回のゲームの南條先生の殺人だけじゃないぜ。一番最初からのあらゆるゲームのあらゆる場面を切り裂ける。
Battler. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of weight on my shoulders too.
後宮金蔵はすでに死亡している。よって島の本当の人数は17人。そこに未知の人物 X が加わることで18人となっている。この人物 X の存在の過程によって17人全員にアリバイがあっても犯行は可能になる。
Real?
これにより人間の数18人を満たしつつにもかかわらず一見18人全員にアリバイがあっても犯人 X の存在と犯行は可能になる。
You can break through all of the murders in episode 1 by supposing an unknown person X. He's solving it for me. Oh, thank you, Battler. Furthermore, it is even possible to explain the mystery of Kinzo's evaporation from the locked room sealed by the receipt by making the bold assumption that Kinzo wasn't there from the beginning. But if you say so, then Natsuhi was in cahoots with... Or well, Natsuhi is the culprit, I think. Unless Byato countered this with a red truth, the witch illusions of episode 1 would be completely smashed. The blue truth was valid. Ah, what? The wedge of blue truth that Battler had released stepped right through the top of Byato's left foot. Was the red blood that poured out from there her defense in the red truth? Byato shut one of her eyes tight, enduring the unbearable pain from the wedge of blue truth that denied her.
我だがまだまだわらわは否定されてはおらぬ。この程度では足りぬわ。続くゲームではそれだけで説明できる謎があるぞ。
どの謎だ？
第2のゲームの終盤でジョージがゴーダとシャノンを引き連れ夏日の部屋に立てこもり殺された。夏日の部屋を解錠した鍵は室内に閉じ込められ、残る全ての解錠可能な鍵はローザの手にあった。
I still think the culprit was Rosa.
犯人 X が存在しようとも密室構築は不可能なはず。
Oh. The blue wedge piercing Byato shook. She was resisting, fighting to push it out.
いや、俺の青き真実は揺るがない。犯人 X がマスターキーを入手していれば、あれは密室でも何でもないんだ。
Real?
いや、入手は不可能だぞ。マスターキーすべてはローザが管理した。
This was true also, but it was also one of my, I think, the things that I was hinging on in my theory in episode 2, which is that Rosa probably was working in cahoots with someone else and passed the master key to them at some point in time.
だが、ローザおばさんが共犯であったなら何の意味もない。
There we have it, folks.
ローザおばさんは犯人 X に何らかの方法で鍵を渡し密室殺人を幇助した。そしてその後同様の方法で鍵を回収したんだ。
I did say this in my episode 2 Tea Party, and I still think that is possibly the case, but that Rosa handed the key through the times where she checked the windows and closed the windows. That's my theory. That's when she passed the key and got the key back.
甘いぜベアト。こんなのは当時の俺もすでに推理している。
そうであったな。
The wedge that had been gradually losing its brilliance and seemed as though it was about to come out regained its strong blue again thanks to Battler's additional blue truth and dug into Beato again, eating into her foot. Beato let out a moan of anguish at the pain of it.
まだだ、まだ答えぬわ。まだだ、まだだ。
さらに続けて6連結の連鎖密室、ローザおばさんとマリアの殺人、その全てはエヴァおばさんを犯人に仮定することで説明可能だ。
Oh, why?
これは当時すでに論破済み。
Sorry. I was just thinking of the 6 locked rooms in the beginning, not necessarily the rest of it, but I would agree, Battler, here that of course it's Eva that was the culprit. I mean, Beatrice, I feel like that was the biggest hint, possibly, that we have ever been given.
それに対し、お前がエヴァを通して出題してきた最後、南條先生殺しも18人目の未知の人物 X で説明可能。
Sure, yeah.
これで第3のゲームまで全て打ち破ったぞ。
無論。
I don't think this is real. I mean, as in, I think Beatrice is just stringing Battler along, waiting for him to get all excited and determined to crush her, and then she will mercilessly crush him afterwards.
この程度で答えはせぬわ。ならばゲストハウスからのジョージの失踪はどう説明するというのか。赤き真実を追加しよう。ジョージはゲストハウスの階段を降りてはおらぬ。
Didn't he throw himself out of the window on the second floor?
窓から飛び去ったのだ。
In the final stages of the third game, George suddenly vanished from the second floor of the guest house. Eva, who had been on the first floor, claimed that no one had come downstairs. And I feel like even if George did come downstairs, Eva would not let him leave. But if, as the Blue Truth claimed, she had carried Krauss and Natsuhi's corpses outside, there was a possibility that George could have secretly gone downstairs during that gap in time and escaped. But by adding on to the Red Truth, Beato had disproven that. To go outside without going down the staircase to the first floor, they would have had to leave by the window. But all of the windows were locked from the inside.
だからなんだ。お前の言葉通りだぞ。窓から飛び去ったんだろ。下へ飛び降りても芝生じゃわからないし。あの大雨だ。多少の痕跡なんて消えちまう。
赤き真実を繰り返す。外部へ通ずる窓も扉もすべて内側より施錠されていたぞ。
Still, someone could have come along and locked it. Or actually, that George. Huh. Actually, never mind.
しかもそれらの施錠はすべて外側からは不可能。ジョージには施錠する術はない。
青き真実を繰り返す。当時の俺も言っているぜ。ならばジョージの兄貴が窓より脱出後、誰かがそれを施錠すればいい。
Of course.
何も難しいことはない。
この程度ではあがけぬか、あがけぬか。
Beato couldn't remove the blue wedge that was buried into her foot. The fake witch was burned more and more by the strong blue. Fake witch? Huh?
第3のゲームまでの全てにおいて青き真実は未だ揺るがない。ならお前が魔女であることを証明する唯一のゲームは今回の第4のゲームだけってことになる。
わらわが赤き真実にて反撃していない以上、そういうことになろう。この度のゲームでのみ。 魔女を証明せねばなるまいな。よかろう。
I don't know. Her face is making me think that she's just playing along.
存分に来るがよい。
食堂の6人殺しについて不審な点はない。18人目の X が銃を乱射してみんなを殺した。落とし穴については実際に落とし穴が本当に隠されていた可能性もあるし、キリエさんの仮説である瞬時に混沌させる毒矢の発射装置 X の過程でも説明可能。
I agree, Battler here.
ジョージの兄貴ジェシカ、そして地下牢から脱出したメンバーの殺害も食堂と同じで銃によるもの。不審な点はない。だが分かってるぜ、反撃があるんだろ。来いよ。
そなたの最大の刃である18人目の X は金蔵がすでに死んでいるとの仮説に立脚している。そう来ることはわらわも分かっている。だから金蔵を書斎より出した。その金蔵を親族会議の全員が迎えたぞ。
Well, I mean, he might not even be Kinzo, you know?
親族会議に居合わせた全員が金蔵の存在を認めた。
Just because you acknowledge his existence doesn't mean he actually exists.
そうだな。だがじい様はずっと視線をさまよって寝込んでいた重病人ってことになってるぜ。
And still, just what was Natsui and Krauss saying about how Genji and Nanjo are on their side? Huh? What was that about?
やつれてて別人に見えちまってもみんな気にしないかもな。俺はこう返す。そのじい様は別人の替え玉だ。
Why not? I might believe this.
親族たちがじい様と見間違えた別人だ。
ならばわらわはこう返す。
I want to say that I believe, or I'm inclined to believe Battler's theory there, because no one in the family really cares about Kinzo anyway. And if they find someone that looked remotely close to Kinzo, they will probably just accept it, especially if the terms are very favorable to them, for a fake Kinzo to exist, etc.
すべての人物は後宮金蔵を見間違わない。
Well, then Beatrice comes and proves me wrong.
いかなる変装であったとしても後宮金蔵を見間違わない。
Wait, what does this mean? No matter what the disguise, as in Kinzo is actually wearing Beatrice dress and pretending to be Beatrice? Or something? Sorry, cosplay Kinzo?
ならばこう返す。お前は第一のゲーム時では5本以上存在することになっていたマスターキーの本数を以後のゲームの設定変更を行っている。同じことで第4のゲームにおいて金蔵の生死の設定が変更されている可能性がある。
Battler is thinking.
よって第4のゲームの金蔵の存在をもってそれ以前のゲームでの金蔵の存在を証明することにはならない。
True, true, true.
よって食堂での6人殺しはじい様が自ら執行したと仮定しても何の矛盾も生じない。
ならばこう返そうぞ。4つのゲーム開始時の金蔵の静止設定は全て同一である。
Well, I feel like that doesn't say much. Kinzo's life or death status is the same at the start of each of the 4 games, meaning that he could have started off alive but then very quickly died later on in the first 3 games.
第4のゲームのみ設定が異なることはない。
副賞要求。各ゲームの開始時に金蔵は生存している。
You would probably say it?
副賞拒否。
No? Huh, okay.
答えぬよバトル。わらわはそなたに望まれて赤き真実を答えはせぬ。
Would it be better for her to hold it back or to say it definitively in red? Well, in any case, I guess not saying it in red would help her case.
くそ、じじいね。俺の前に立ちふさがりやがる。
Typical Kinzo behavior, right? Still causing trouble even after death.
我が最愛の魔女ベアトリーチェを守るために体を張ってやがるってのか。
My goddamn granddad wavered into vision. Is he trying to be some kind of knight blocking the way between me and Beato?
バトラよ。
He's imagining things now.
お前にこのわしが超えられるかな。至らせぬ、至らせはせぬよ。黄金の魔女の高みにはな。お前の浅はかな推理など私一人を超えることもできぬわ。死ねい。
Oh my god! That was so freaky! Why did he float away like that? What is this, a dragon? Kinzo's jet black cape spread as though it would swallow the world, becoming the snout of a vast black dragon, which came at me, trying to swallow me in one mouth. As I faced the roaring of the black dragon, I calmed my breathing and closed my eyes
お
lightly.
前なぞ一息に飲み込んでくれるわ。
You don't exist, old man!
消え去れ、未熟者め。
黙りな、死に損ないの亡霊め。
ほう、わしを亡霊呼ばわりしてみせるか。あくまでもわしはすでに死んでおるとする仮説を貫くか。それがお前の命取りよ。第4のゲームの第1の番にて闇に飲み込まれて消え去るがよい。
Black Dragon's vast mouth, its snout, its fangs threatened to swallow Battler whole. In that instant, Battler suddenly opened his eyes.
ありがとうよ、ベアトリーチェ。お前の第3のゲームが俺の反撃の足がかりとなる。
何？
あばよ、クソじじい、こいつでお別れだぜ。俺は金蔵死亡説が第4のゲームでも主張できる根拠として以下の仮説を提唱する。
よかろう、存分に来るがよい。我が末裔よ。
行くぜ、クソじじい。金蔵の名は後宮家当主の称号として引き継がれているという仮説だ。
Huh? What? Huh? Kinzo's name is passed on as a title of the Ushiromiya family head? How did he cope with this one?
後宮金蔵はすでに死んでいる。そしてその名を誰かが継承した。全員が承認した。それにより親族会議に居合わせた全員が金蔵の存在を認めた。じい様の変装をする必要さえもないのさ。
I feel like Battler needs to explain more so I can understand better what he's trying to say.
一同が新しい金蔵を認めたのだから。
And this Kinzo is Beatrice?
よって見間違えるわけもない。以上の仮説が否定されない限り。これでとどめだぜ、クソじじい。お前に復讐要求だ。
Huh? Why is he asking Kinzo?
全人物の中で異なる複数の名前を持つ人物は存在しない。
Not one person present had multiple differing names. More than one name.
できんな。
Whoa, what?
安らかに眠りな、クソじじい。
How did he come up with this?
感謝しろよ。お前やっと死ねたんだぜ。こいつが引導だ。後宮金蔵はすでに死亡している。そうさ、あんたは気の毒だよな。その死体が見つかる場合いつも丸焼けだ。それは死後が経過している死体であることを悟られないための工作なのさ。
Huh. Interesting, and I always hear thought that it was because the culprit had some kind of extreme hate towards Kinzo. I mean, it still could be true.
そしてその名を誰かが受け継いだ以上の仮説で、てめえは死亡しているにもかかわらず、金蔵は親族会議に登場することができる。どうだよ、これだ、チェックメイトだ。
Whoa. Several dozen blue sticks bored into Kinzo's ghost. Their terrible destructive power would never permit the ghost to recover.
あとリーチ
金蔵、今日までありがとう。安らかにそなたとの日々は忘れる。
Oh, I can't tell anymore. What Beatrice is to Kinzo, what Kinzo is to Beatrice. I can't tell. Dispersing along the shadow of the black dragon as golden flower petals scattered, Ushiromiya Kinzo became a gold-colored cyclone and disappeared. Even after death, you fought for the sake of a woman, the woman you loved. Your love and madness were, without a doubt, the real thing.
バトラ
恨むな、死者は眠らせろ、起こすな。次こそはこれでお前も最後だ。
Beato still couldn't pull out the blue wedge that pierced her foot. Beato realized that she was on the verge of death.
お前には随分と付き合ったぜ。お前の遊び相手としての義理は十分果たしたはずだ。だがそろそろお片付けの時間だぜ。家で寂しがり屋の妹が待ってるんだ。
Oh no, he's tripping death flags right now.
家族揃っておいとまさせてもらうぜ。
No, isn't this a second death flag?
ならば殺せ。
I don't like it. Something is wrong.
ならばわらわを殺してみせよ。逃げも隠れもせぬ。今や避けることもかなわぬわ。
No, look at her face. She has something up on her sleeve. She is trying to lure Battler into doing something.
来い後ろ宮バトラー
No, you know what? I'm 100% convinced that something is wrong and that Battler should stop doing what he's doing actually.
おう
Yeah, there's just no way Battler would win. Not here, not right now. Not as the person that he is.
金蔵死亡説による18人目の X により残り全てを貫く。第4のゲームにおけるジョージの兄貴とジェシカの死も X が犯人で説明できる。地下牢から逃げて殺された5人も園芸倉庫の2人も最後のマリアも全て18人目の X で説明できる。何もおかしなことはない。以上にて全てのゲームにおける犯人の説明を人間にて完了する。ベアトリーチェ、これでチェックメイトだ。
No, I'm getting a super bad feeling. There's no way Battler will win here. None. I don't believe it. I don't. Really? I don't believe it though. Several blue sticks were driven into Beatrice, who could not dodge, skewering her. Beato grabbed the sticks, trying to pull them out somehow. Real? Really? No.
痛えよ。
Really?
こりゃ死ぬな。こいつを引き抜かなきゃ死んじまう。痛いのは嫌だ。辛いのは嫌。
With both hands, Beato firmly grasped one of the blue stakes. Huh? What? Naturally, the power of the blue truth to deny witches burned her hands. Unable to hide her tears at the pain, Beato howled and tried to pull the stakes out with all her might. What do you call the opposite of death legs? She is tripping all of them. She's trying to tell me she's not gonna die. I don't think she's gonna die.
これが最後の反撃ならバトラー、我が魔法の数々をどう説明するのか。
CGI simple.
一番最初に登場したのは第二のゲームにおいてわらわがマリアのかぼちゃのマシュマロを直してやった時だ。この時ローザはその魔法を確かに目撃している。
Certainly, Rosa had witnessed gold butterflies gather and fix a marshmallow by the miracle of magic.
ローザ一人の目撃では信憑性がないであろう。だからわらわはその目撃者を極限まで増やしたのだ。それこそが今回のゲームよ。我が眷属たちの召喚、そして魔法による虐殺、それらの全てを大勢の人間たちに目撃させた。それこそが我が魔法の存在する証明。これをどう説明するのか。後ろ宮バトラー。
ステイルメイト。魔法があるから魔法はある。そういう論法にはできないってのが俺たちのブラウン管裁判のルールのはずだぜ。
そうだったな。
誰が何人魔法を目撃しようともそれは魔法の存在の証明にはならない。俺はお前が見せてきた全ての魔法の存在するしないの意見にかかわらず、それは俺の不可侵の権利である。違ったか。
At those words, the blue stakes let out an even brighter light, repelling my hands away.
やはり抜けぬか。
As Battler is now, even if I cited each individual piece of magic and demanded an explanation for each, he would probably use any means available to him to deny all of them. Not just the marshmallow magic that I showed Rosa, but all of my magical miracles. I can no longer even claim to be a witch without entering into debates about how something like a marshmallow was fixed. I am in such an inferior position that I am forced to fight over trivialities like that.
わらわは無理かもしれぬ。分かっている。もとより勝ちのなきゲームだったのだ。なればいつか敗れる日が来るのは当然のこと。わらわはバトラに敗れるためだけに今日までを戦ってきたというのか。勝てるかもしれないと始めたゲームだった。簡単には勝てなくても無限に繰り返すゲームの中でいつかは奇跡が起こると信じてた。
A miracle? What kind of miracle is she looking for?
何しろわらわには絶対に勝つという絶対の意志がある。しかし今やその奇跡は完全に失われた。そして絶対の意志はバトラに宿り、私には万一の奇跡も絶対にない。
I'm assuming she changed the way she referred to herself?
いや、奇跡も絶対もないが正しいのか。
no miracles, or certainly that's Castle and Lambda's title.
勝利はなく引き分けによる終了もない。唯一許された決着、
I
敗
have
北を
a
与えら
bad
れるま
feeling.
で永遠と抗うだけのゲーム。そうさ、私はバトラに殺されるためだけに。
I looked into Battler's eyes. It's so strange. We are reading from Beatrice's perspective. It was not me inside them. Reflected in those eyes were the figures of the little sister waiting for his return and the family he had to bring back to her. Dripping death flags. He no longer sees me, even as an individual. Of course he doesn't. From the very beginning, he has been fighting to deny the individual I am.
前回のゲームは面白かったな。ちょっと騙しただけだったけど、ほんのわずかの間だけでも分かり合えたような感じになって面白かったな。
Oh, not this one.
あそこで手を打っておけばよかったんだよ。バトラがコロッと騙されたまま永遠に騙し続けてればよかったんだ。でもダメなんだよな。
Well, is she talking to herself?
あれじゃ本当の勝ちじゃないんだよな。
これでチェックメイトか、ベアトリーチェ。
Run through with several blue stakes, Beato was still in a standing position, skewered to the ground many times over. Unable even to fall over because of this, and still looking up into the night sky, she was sewn in place. Her tragic form might have been a fitting end. For the cruel witch who had endlessly toyed with 18 people's lives, and who had killed constantly for hundreds and thousands of years. Gently, as though someone was mourning for something, rain began to fall. Amidst the rain, Beato was exposed to the elements, crucified.
終わりなのか、ベアト。
グーの音も出ぬわ。
まだだろ。お前はこの程度で終わる女じゃねえだろ。
That's what I'm thinking too.
無茶を言う。この姿がどう見たら終わっていないように見えるのか。早くとどめを刺せよ。言っちまえよ、お前の青き真実で。以上により魔女は存在しないって言っちまえよ。その一撃で私の息の根を止めてしまえ。
ダメだな。
ほう、わらわにこれ以上。息すでに決着はついておろうに。
立てよ。俺たちの殴り合いはまだ終わってない。
What does he want to do?
まだとな。
お前のそれは負けじゃない。もうやめたと投了しているだけだ。
いいではないかよ、投了で。それでそなたの勝ちだろうが。とっとと妹のところへ帰るがいい。わらわなどこの場にうち。
俺は言ったはずだ。逃げない。そしてお前を逃がさないとな。お前は何者だ。そして一体何が望みだったんだ。
それが知りたくばそなたのお箱でも試せばよい。
Repetition requested.
いいではないか。ただの妄想。 それでいいではないか。
全然ダメだぜ。俺はお前を打ち破る。
What is he doing?
このまま逃がしてなるもんか。
Didn't he win already? What is he chasing?
お前をうやむやにしたまま幻想の暗闇に逃げ帰らせはしない。打ち破る。完全にな。だから立て。弱々しいふりなんかするな。お前はまだなんてか隠してる。俺にはわかる。
なぜおとなしく見逃してくれぬのか。
親父を、おふくろを、そしてエンジェを、いとこのみんなや親族のみんなを、そして使用人のみんなを、お前はあれだけもてあそんで殺した。その非道を俺は絶対に忘れない。俺の肩にはよ、まだエンジェの腕の感触が残ってるんだよ。
Okay, maybe I can understand then why Battler is so adamant too. I guess, maybe in a way caused Beatrice the most highest possible pain.
俺はお前の非道を許さない。だからそんなことで。
Battler's eyes burned with flames of hatred. The days when I could earn his passion by appearing frail are now a matter of the distant past. Having been tricked once, Battler will never sympathize with me again.
狼と羊のパズルどころか、これじゃ狼少年だな。どうすればいいんだよ。どうすれば。負けを認めぬためだけに無限に戦うのも、無限の魔女にふさわしき無限の拷問か。バトラに勝利を与えぬために無限に嫌がらせを繰り返すのもまた悲しいな。こんなのが無限の魔法なのか。もう嫌だ。魔女たちに無限に玩具にされるなんてもう嫌だ。
Of endlessly being made into a witch's plaything? Huh? Beatrice did say that she is the Ushidomiya family's furniture, but who is a witch? Kinzo?
勝ちはなく
Battler?
引き分け終了もない。ならばわらわを解放してくれる結末は魔女の道に落ちた時から、悪魔と契約をしたその日から、末路は悲劇であると。
どうした黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。六軒島の支配者ならば最後もそれにふさわしい貫禄を見せてみろ。
Lightning. The world was smashed with white, fitting last moments for the ruler of Rokinjima. I'm not gonna laugh. Still pierced by blue stakes, Beato faced the rainy sky and let out a laugh. Then she slowly raised her face and fixed her eyes on Battler.
愚か者め、そなたの健闘をたたえ勝ちを譲ってやろうと思ったのに慢心したな。
それは譲られるものじゃねえ。お前から奪い取るものだ。お前だってそうだろうが。俺が魔女はいてもいいからなんて言い出す、そんな甘っちょろい勝ち方が納得できなかったから、前回はわざとああして最後にぶっ壊してくれたんだろうが。そうさ、俺は前回お前に一度情けをもらってたんじゃねえか。だからその借りをこれで返す。俺の敵、俺の黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。
バカだ。バカが愚か者が二度とチャンスがあると思うな。
Oh? When Beato yelled, the blue sticks that had been piercing her chest blew to bits and disappeared. However, the blue wedge that had pierced her foot in the very beginning did not disappear. Why?
まだ抜けてないぜ。18人目の X の青き真実が抜けていない。
そなたの復唱要求の一つに応じる。そなたの推理通り、全ゲームの開始時に金蔵はすでに死んでいる。
Oh. Huh, okay. Then definitely episode 1, Natsuhi?
しかし、ならばつまりは一人を抜かせばよいこと。わらわはこれまで、この島には19人以上の人間は存在しないと宣言してきた。それを金蔵の分一人減らす。この島には18人以上の人間は存在しない。以上とはつまり18人目を含めるぞ。
That can't be it, right? All this time, there were only 17 people? No, right?
つまり18人目の X は存在しない。これは全ゲームに共通することである。
Oh, he's still smirking.
そら見ろ。やっぱりまだ。とんでもねえ奥の手を隠してやがったぜ。17人しか人間のいない島が18人と偽られてきた。それが1人減って17人になり、ようやく正しい数になったってわけだ。これだ。お前をぶち抜いていたくさびが抜かれたな。戦いはゼロから仕切り直しってわけだ。
Huh? The blue wedge that had sewn Beato in place broke apart. There was no longer anything piercing Beato. Huh? What of it, blood? Oh, the scars on her body had disappeared completely. There, just as Battler had hoped for, stood the imposing figure of the golden witch who ruled Rakinjima.
さあ来いバトラ。もう一度最初からだ。すべてについて青き真実で打ち抜いてみよ。わらわももはや遊ばぬ。逃げもせぬ。隠れもせぬ。そなたが不甲斐ないならばこの勝負、この場にて決着してくれようぞ。わらわの譲り勝利にて妥協しなかったことを永遠に後悔させてくれる。さあ、第一のゲームからだ。
おう、第1のゲーム。最初の園芸倉庫で見つかった親族6人の殺人に不審な点はない。アリバイのない誰にでも犯行は可能だった。
有効だ。続けるぞ。次のエヴァ夫婦の密室殺人はどうか。
Oh, so exciting. We're finally gonna get some more insight into all of the locked rooms, I guess. What did I say for Eva and Hideyoshi? I think I said that Hideyoshi killed Eva, but obviously knowing what we know now, I really doubt the two of them could kill the other. So I haven't thought about what could really have happened there.
チェーンまでかかった密室であったぞ。赤き真実を追加する。
It's the most lockedest of all locked rooms.
二人は他殺である。密室構築後に片方を殺害の後に自殺したのではない。また殺人は執行者、犠牲者が共に同室して行われた。
Huh.
執行者が室外から殺害する手段は存在しない。
犯人にはアリバイのない人間を想定する。
Battler has an answer for this?
それは死者だ。最初の6人の死体の中には顔面粉砕による身元不明死体が含まれる。
True.
これが実は偽装死体で、犠牲者のふりをして姿をくらました犯人 X が2人、そして犯人は密室殺人構築後ベッドの下に隠れ、 俺たち全員をやり過ごしたんだ。
Hold on, did we not pull this out? Oh, there was no red truth in episode 1. That's why he can say that, I
よ
guess.
かろう、次だ。ボイラー室に至ったカノンが殺されたな。赤き真実を追加する。すべての生存者にアリバイがある。さらに死者も含めようぞ。つまり島のいかなる人間にも死者にもカノンは殺せなかった。
誰にも殺せないなら自分で殺したということはあるかもな。ならカノン君は自殺かもしれない。副将要求、カノン君は自殺ではない。
カノンは自殺ではない。
Huh.
重ねるぜ。副将要求、カノン君は他殺された。
Oh my
負傷を
god.
拒否する。
I don't like that face. Well, maybe Kanon tripped and accidentally killed himself.
その拒否で他殺を認めることも可能だが、お前はすでに赤で誰にも殺せなかったと宣言している。つまり他殺ではないんだ。これは第3のゲームの連鎖密室と同じなのさ。カノン君は自殺でも他殺でもない理由で死亡したんだ。
He's saying what I think he's saying. It's an accident.
状況は不明だが事故死というわけさ。胸に杭がぶち込まれて死んでしまうような、どのようなドジを踏んで事故死に至ったかについての説明は悪魔の証明により説明拒否。
Awesome.
ほうほう、悪魔の力を身につけたそなたは今や敵なしだな。有効であるぞ。ならばその後の客間にての源氏、南條、熊沢の3名の殺人はどうか。無論同室していたマリアは殺していないぞ。そしてもちろん3人は他殺だ。
殺人を実行したのは身元不明死体で姿をくらました犯人 X で説明できる。そもそもあの3人の顔面も粉砕されていた。
That's like what I said, I think.
どれかが替え玉死体の可能性は十分にある。
身元不明死体についてその身元を全て保証する。すなわち替え玉トリックは存在しない。
ならば相打ち殺人で説明できる。
Simultaneous murders?
3人はそれぞれに銃を持って時計回りに突きつけ、同時に相手の顔面を吹き飛ばした。その後マリアがその銃を回収して隠した。これならどうだ。
That would mean Maria is in cahoots, right? But I think I've already long suspected that Maria is probably working with the culprit, if not is the culprit. Well, I don't think Maria's the culprit, but anyway.
なんという暴論。気に入った。ならば最後の夏日は赤き真実を追加。夏日は他殺である。身元不明死体は一切なく、生存者も全員がアリバイがある。
トラップ X による間接殺人で説明できる。夏日おばさんの銃に細工がされてたんだ。
Oh, a trap like this.
あの銃は構えて撃った人間のちょうど眉間に弾をくれてやるように作られた
Well, I guess that
罠
would
の銃
work.
だったとすれば説明できる。
夏日の額に埋まりし銃弾は夏日の銃から放たれたものではない。
夏日おばさんは内容不明の手紙によりおびき出された可能性がある。そしてオールに呼び出された。そして特定の時刻に特定の場所に立つように強いられて、あらかじめ設置してあった銃を利用したトラップ X により殺害されたんだ。
You know, I think Battler makes a lot of sense, and it's something that I would probably think of. I mean, I used this mysterious Trap X in my previous arguments in the locked rooms. I didn't come to a conclusion for Natsuhi, but it's close enough, I think. And if this is accepted, then I think
Well, I feel like my theory should be accepted too.
素晴らしい。そなたの暴論はもはや心地よくすらある。敬意を表し第一のゲームをそなたに譲ろうぞ。感服したわ。
Oh, what? The instant Beato admitted defeat in the first game, the stakes of Blue Truth once again pierced her chest, letting out a terrible sound.
これくらいでは答えぬわ。まだまだ来い。第2のゲームだ。
Beato just barely pulled the stakes that had pierced her chest out, but even though there was no hole left behind, it seemed to be a deep wound which let out a massive amount of blood, and an intense pain of equal measure tormented her. But Beato grinned, grinding her teeth, and pushed for the next game to start. But I won't feel any sympathy. Just by her existing there, we will be killed and made to suffer over and over, and Enji will be burdened with a future of isolation.
そうとも。わらわがここにいてただ笑うだけでも永遠の地獄は続く。そなたを妹に返しはしない。妹は帰らぬ家族に1000年の間泣き続ければよい。
Jeez, what did Battler do to her to make her so angry?
くしょうが情けも容赦もしねえぜ。第2のゲームだ。まずは最初の事件だ。6人が殺された礼拝堂での密室殺人については当時の俺がすでにカンパしている。マリアの鍵を何者かが密かに拝借し、事件終了後に密かにマリアのカバンに戻したんだ。
Yep, Battler did, and I agree with him.
マリアの鍵はマリア受領後から翌日のローザ開封の瞬間まで誰の手にも渡っていない。
Huh? What?
ジジイの書斎と同じ構造で礼拝堂の扉がオートロックだった可能性がある。つまり事件前に開錠しておいて扉が閉まりきらないように石でも挟んでおいた。
You know, I don't think I entertained the possibility that the chapel was locked to begin with, but still, how would you lock the room afterwards? Even if the chapel wasn't locked, how would you lock it afterwards?
そして鍵をマリアに預けた。施錠はオートのため鍵は必要なかったとの仮説もあり得る。
金蔵の書斎以外にオートロックの扉は存在しない。
扉は犠牲者たちが内側から閉めたんだ。
So he's suggesting that they killed themselves?
6人の中に犯人がいて5人を殺し死んだふりをしていた。
6人は発見時にすでに全員死亡していた。
If the 6 of them were already dead by the time they were discovered, then how would you lock the room if the key was kept with Maria all this time? The only other explanation would be that one is that the culprit was still in the room with them. Although I don't know whether that was ruled out by the Red Truth, I can't remember. If the culprit was hanging around the chapel long after they murdered those 6 people and then pretended to arrive on the scene. I mean, when it's all, you know, pandemonium and panicking, I feel like people won't notice necessarily. So I think that's possible. Although I feel like the culprit is really sick in the head. After killing 6 people, they're able to just stay and hang around the chapel for like a couple more hours with the dead bodies in front of them. Well, then again, they are the one committing the murder. The other possibility, let me think. That's one possibility, but the other possibility could be... No, actually, I think I can only think of that one. I can't think of more. I feel like there could be other reasons, though.
全員が他殺だ。 6人は全員が純粋な犠牲者であり、相互の殺人には関与しない。相打ち殺人は存在しない。
No simultaneous murders, like the one Battler suggested.
熊沢さんをはじめ当時アリバイがない人間が存在した。そんな誰かが6人を殺し内側に隠れていたと仮定すれば問題ない。
あの礼拝堂には誰も隠れていなかった。よってその引きこもり密室は通用しない。どうしたよ後ろ宮バートラー。それで終わりか。
I can't think of one.
第2のゲームからは甘くないぜ。
A tremendous exchange of red and blue truth. The piercing battler now? No. The sticks and wedges of blue truth that I sent flying darted at Beato one after the other, and one after another, Beato cut them down with her red truth, her red treasured sword, knocking them out of the air. But the bloodshed lost from the first game was probably awful. This intense exercise was putting her under even greater strain. I could see her breath growing ragged. That's why I can't hold back now. I'll corner that witch. And this time I'll break through her.
まだだぜ。ああ、ダメだ。全然ダメだ。俺のへりくつは終わっちゃいねえぜ。ならばこれはどうだ。彼らに与えられた飲食物に小型爆弾が入っていて腹の中で爆発した。
What? Okay, yeah, there is poison, I guess. But poison wouldn't explain why their stomachs were all, cut open.
つまりトラップ X による犯行の可能性。
I think Battler is making a lot of sense here, though. Small bombs to explode the stomach. That would actually make sense, yeah.
気づかずに飲み込んで腹をぶちまけるような爆弾の詳細については悪魔の証明。説明拒否。
I refuse to explain. Battler. So true. Well, I mean, the devil's proof exists for a reason, I guess.
なんだよそりゃ。小型爆弾。
But Beato failed to knock down the blue wedge as it flew at an angle like a curveball. So she accepts it. It let out a loud thunk and gouged itself deeply into her left shoulder. However, despite being on the receiving end of it, it seemed she couldn't stop laughing at how much of a curveball it was. Yeah, I mean, the little bombs in the food definitely was a shocking development. Yeah, no wonder. Even I'm amazed at how screwed up this reasoning is.
好きなだけ笑いやがれ。文句があるのか。
なし。その暴論や心地よし。次なるジェシカとカノンの密室は。
Jessica and Kanon, what did I say before? Did I even come up with like a proper solution for this one? Jessica and Kanon... Well, I did. I think I do remember. Someone probably killed them and then left. I don't think this was a real locked room mystery, right? Because the master key was still being held by the other servants.
問題ない。使用人の誰かが犯人であればマスターキーを使える。
Oh yeah. See? I remember.
密室ですらない。
その後、使用人室でカノンらしき謎の人物が襲いかかり、南條と熊沢が殺されたな。
Okay, this one was confusing. This one, I don't know.
カノンの死亡はあの時刻以前に赤で宣言済みだった。ならば、あのカノンは何者だというのか。
I guess it could be just like what Battler said before, that Kanon as a name is just a title.
カノン君の死亡は赤で宣言済みならば、よって襲われた彼らがカノン君と誤認するような何者かの変装の可能性がある。
彼らは異なる人物をカノンと誤認することは絶対にない。
ならば金蔵の名の世襲と同じにカノンの名が世襲された可能性がある。カノン君が殺され別の人物がその名を受け継ぎ彼らを襲ったと仮定できる。
Well, Beato, are you gonna, use your wit truth? No? It's true? Kanon, Shannon, and the rest are all just inherited titles? Really? A sound like a watermelon being squashed rang out, and the blue wedge was buried deep into Beato's left flank. It looked like she felt that one. Maybe it hit her in a bad spot. After leaning over and moaning for a while, she laughed it off as though trying to make it seem like no big deal. Yeah, I can tell. That must have hurt like a bitch.
またしてもこともなげに人間の誰かを犯人に仕立ててきやがったぜ。
Thank you, Beato. I realized I should have put out my previous theories as we were covering it, but don't worry. I'll do it from here onwards.
ゲーム盤上では口が裂けても言えぬことを実にシャーシャーとのたまん。しかし有効だ。その暴言心地よし。心地よいぞ。これは痛みではない。心地よさだ。
This was so insane to me. What is she saying? What does she mean that pain is pleasure? I mean, I don't know. Just from what little we know of her, it seems like she was trapped trapped is not the right word. I think more like locked up in Kinzo's dungeon basement for a long time. I feel that it seems like everything, I don't know, how do I say this? It seems like she is trying to cope with it, When Beato howled, the wedge that had pierced her was blasted away, but the wound remained and continued tormenting her with intense pain.
いいのか？続けていくぜ。第2のゲームの最後の殺人、夏日おばさんの部屋で死んだ3人についての青き真実は18人目の X を否定されても有効のはず。赤で反論はあるか？
What does he mean by that? Should still be valid even if the 18th person denied? Was it locked? Was the room locked? I guess it was locked.
なければ第2のゲームも俺のものだ。
I can't remember what I said for the three of them in Natsuhi's room at that time. I actually can't remember.
ああ、ないぞ。そのようなさまつで戦うのもつまらない。くれてやる。第2のゲームだぞ。貴様にくれてやるわ。
On to the third game. The third game is more straightforward, I think. The instant she admitted defeat in the second game, this time 2 blue stakes gouged through Beato's chest. The witch's lungs were gouged and her intestines. The witch's face twisted in anguish. Her body twisted as she gasped in pain.
痛えのか？
Actually, this just popped into my head, but the fact that Beatrice's name can be inherited as well probably should have tipped me off to other people's name possibly being inherited. Just like how we have Angie Beatrice and Eva Beatrice, there is probably Kinzo Goldsmith and a Kinzo someone else. I can't believe I've never thought of that before.
痛い？いやいや、くすぐったいくらいよ。全身を細切れにされてくず肉の山にされたお前の妹に比べればね。
That's just mean.
お前もくず肉にしてやるぞ。兄弟仲良く混ぜて合いびきにしてくれるわ。
ぶち殺してやる。お前を同じ細切れにしてやる。次だ、第3のゲームだ。いつまでへばってやがる。てめえを地獄に叩き落としてやるのはこれからだ。
無論よ、これくらいでへばるものか。そうとも、まだまだこれからよ。さあ、第3のゲームを始めようぞ。まずは最初の6連結の連鎖密室。本来ならこの密室はそなたが当時にカンパしている。しかしそなたは金蔵を殺してしまった。
Right, in the third game, in the very first Twilight, Battler was saying that it was Kinzo who killed the rest of them and then, I guess, killed himself afterwards. But I do remember Beatrice kind of shot the theory down with her red truth, I believe, saying that it wasn't any accident or there were no... Wait, did she? No, I can't remember. I know she said something like all were homicides, was it not? So I do remember feeling kind of confused by it, and I did propose some really wild theory about how it was Kinzo who he killed himself. Well, he killed himself by a trap, so it wasn't suicide but a homicide. That was what I was cooking on back then. But well, if Kinzo is already dead, then I don't know. At the time, I hypothesized that Gramps was the culprit, and that after killing the other 5 and stringing the keys across each room, he constructed his own locked room in the boiler room, where, in the middle of carrying out some kind of scheme, he had an accident which resulted in him burning to death in the boiler. But now I've gone and declared that Gramps was already dead, so I've denied my own theory. The irony. However,
問題ない。ジジイ以外にも犯行可能な人間は大勢いる。
really?
親族会議中だった大人たちが全員グルで犯行に及んだとさえ言い切れる。
How?
マスターキー5本はすべて5人の使用人の懐よりそれぞれ発見された。個別の鍵は死体の傍らの封筒の中に。つまり連鎖密室に関わるすべての鍵が連鎖密室内に閉じ込められていたわけだ。ドアの隙間だの窓の隙間だの通気口だの、そんなところを使って密室外から鍵を戻すことなどできるぞ。
Well, I did say before that in these 6 locked rooms that someone could have slid or slid the key through the crack in the door, but apparently that is now being, that is wrong.
なら毒ガスで殺したんだ。
Now that is very smart, actually.
鍵は通らなくてもガスなら通るぜ。密室の外から殺人を実行したんだ。
I could never think of this in a million years, being killed with poison gas. But at the same time, didn't Beato say that there were no outside interferences?
彼ら全員には致命傷となった重曹と思わしき傷跡があったぞ。
I'm a little surprised that Beatrice lets Battler yap for as long as he did, because, I mean, didn't she already rule out what Battler is saying with her red truth before? I don't know, it doesn't feel very consistent, although I might be misremembering stuff, so if I am, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. But as it is, I don't know, sometimes it feels like the red truth is, not really consistent.
室外からの殺害は不可能だぞ。さらに赤を重ねようぞ。金蔵を除く5人の殺人の際、殺人者は必ず同室していた。
Well, this is interesting.
自殺者がいないことは当時に赤で宣言済みだ。
犯人は全員をそれぞれの部屋で殺害後、連鎖密室を構築した。しかし最後の部屋の鍵だけはどうしても密室内に戻せない。だが戻すことはできたぜ。死体の第一発見者が鍵を見つけたふりをして 誰かの死体のポケットから取り出して見せればいいからだ。
You know what? You know what? This makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. I can't believe I've never thought of this before. It does. It makes so much sense because all you had to think about was that one locked room, and Battler pushed through. I'm curious to see if Beatrice is gonna strike him down. I guess not. She couldn't fully block that blue stick's retort. Pushed back by the blue wedges unleashed one after another, Beato finally failed to block one and once again took a severe wound. I'm not sure if I said this yet, but is this even real? Is Beatrice really being struck down? As she held in pain, she pulled out a blue wedge that had pierced her right arm. Beato's entire body had been slashed and pierced with blue wedges, stakes, and blades over and over again. And by now, her whole body was covered in blood. But even so, Beato grinned, cackled as though she was enjoying it.
エンジェに親を連れ戻して帰宅すると約束した男がどの口で親を犯人にした説を語るというのか。いいぜ、それでもいいんだぜ。
I really hope Rudolph and Kyrie are not, culprits.
家族で仲良く大量殺人に手を染めて決して落ちぬ血にまみれながらエンジェのところに帰れよ。それでこそ魔女の島からの生還者にお似合いだぜ。クズ肉エンジェにぴったりだ。
I'm sorry, I read that as Minecraft NG.
黙りやがれ。てめえを殺せ。バラバラにして殺せ。命乞いの必要はないぜ。絶対にこの手で最悪の死を与えてやる。
ああ、そなたならできるだろうよ。千年の果てに残虐の限りを尽くしきったわらわにそれに見合う最後を与えてくれるだろうよ。ああ、それは痛いのか辛いのか、それともくすぐったいのかな。これくらいで答えるかよ。来いよ後ろ宮バトラー。
Beato had already countered my first powerful move, the 18th person X, by making the number of people on the island 17. But just limiting the number of people to 17 doesn't overturn the theory that Aunt Eva is the culprit. It's so insane that it went from thinking about a mysterious additional person X to now basically confirming that one of the people on the island that we know and love are, well, one of them is the culprit. And that's so wild to me. I can crush most of the murders in the third game with that theory. Blood was dripping from all over the body of the Golden Witch. I was cornering her, and this time completely without mercy. This isn't a game played only to determine a winner and a loser. Yeah, we're not playing around here. Even just playing and fighting like this, here, delays the trip home. In her isolation, Angie will continue to have her heart torn apart by loneliness and sadness. I have to go back to Angie as fast as I can.
ボロボロだな。虫の息ってやつか。
Huh? Did she collapse? No.
まだまだ答えぬわ。これくらいこそばよいわ。
いらねえようだな。
元よりそのつもりもなかろう。
存分に行くぜ。
そうせよ。逆の立場だった時わらわは容赦しなかった。だからそなたもそのチャンスがあったならそうするべきであろうが。じゃないと また別の世界の孤独な演者を呼んで、今度は獅子を引きちぎって槍に刺して炙り焼きにしちまうぜ。
黙れ。もう二度と俺の家族も親族も、そして使用人のみんなもお前のおもちゃにはさせねえぜ。俺はすでに第4のゲームの謎も全て青き真実で打ち破っている。残る謎は第3のゲームの一番最後、南條先生の殺人だけだぜ。
Ah, this one. Even I am not super sure. I did say it could possibly be one of the people from the mansion that came and killed Nanjo. They just pretended to be dead. But, it may not be, considering Nanjo didn't recognize him. So I'm not sure either.
おや、わらわはもうそんなところまで追い詰められていた。わらわも風前の灯火であるな。
She coughed violently, spitting up blood. Her insides had been punched through so many times. It was only natural.
ということは、この南條先生殺しの謎だけがお前が魔女であることの最後の防衛戦ってことになるな。
そうなるな。これを破られたなら、わらわは全ての謎を破られたことになる。そなたの真実のいずれかを新しき赤き真実で反論するか、わらわは死ぬ。
追い詰められて風前の灯火って感じには見えねえ。まだ何か隠し玉を持ってやがるな。
That's what I'm thinking.
さて、わらわはもはや1000年の長すぎる生涯にあいている。その果てに巡り合ったそなたという好敵手によって生涯を閉じるのも悪くないと思い始めている。そなたならやれるよな。やってくれよ、頼むよ。殺してくれよ。殺してばっかりでさ、殺された試しがねえんだよ。お前ら18人を幾百と殺してはきたけれど、殺された試しは一度もねえから。
Hundreds of times? Really?
一回くらいは経験してみてんだよ。
It was a graceless show of bravado, unchanged from before. But blood dripped from her mouth, her once beautiful dress was covered with holes, and blood poured from all over her body, making her physical appearance look very different from her attitude. Perhaps she was still suffering from the shot she'd taken to the flank. The way she was unconsciously clutching it lacked any trace of elegance. But there's no room for compassion. As long as I feel sympathy for this witch, my family and I won't be released from this place. Until I defeat her, we won't be able to go home. In this world we live in, even people who see each other as enemies can come to understand each other if the situation changes. But absolute evil does exist. That is an evil which brings misfortune by its very existence and is to be spared no compromise. Just by continuing to exist, it is evil.
お前をアーレには思わない。お前が俺たちの誰にもあれまなかったように。
そうともさ、お前らなんてゲームの駒だぜ。毎回最初の6人は誰を殺そうかな、次の2人はどう殺そうかな、もっとグロい殺し方はねえかなって考えるのは最高に楽しいぜ。なあバトラよ、少し改心するから今回も許してくれよ。
What is she saying? It feels so Weird.
そしたらさ、もうちょっとマシな殺し方に変えてやるからよ。誰をどの順にどんな風に殺すか、お前の希望も聞いてやるからよ。楽しいぜ、人の命をもてあそぶってのはよ。お前なら考えつくよ。エンジェをもっともっとクズ肉にしてやる方法はよ。
To me, it kind of feels like she is seeing someone else in Battler rather than talking to Battler himself. But then again, I don't know. And I might just be reaching.
来いよ、南條殺し、暴いてみろ。
The 18th person X was destroyed, but I won't give in. I'll stop that witch's breathing cold. The end of the third game. It was declared in red that the 4 survivors at that point in time, Battler, Eva, Jessica, and Nanjo, were all unrelated to Nanjo's murder. And it was also declared that he was murdered directly right before his eyes. All other people had the strongest alibi of having their deaths declared in red. Without using the 18th person X, I have to break through this. Think. Don't stop thinking. Her red doesn't only bind me, it's also supposed to be her weak point. I've got to somehow use it against her. That's right, there's still a gap. Yeah, this way I can break through it. Beatrice's legend of the witch is over.
確かに他の連中は死亡だったろうさ。だが赤で死亡を宣言されたのは南條先生が死んだ瞬間ではない。
Hey, wait a minute, isn't that what I said? Isn't that what I said? And someone told me I was wrong.
厳密に言えば南條先生の死体が見つかった後の俺とエヴァの戦いにおいてだ。つまり南條先生を殺した時点では生きていた何者かがエヴァの死亡宣言までの間に死亡していればその感激は縫えることになる。
That's what I said. But maybe Beatrice is gonna strike him down.
つまりはこういうことさ。エヴァの死亡宣言で初めて死亡とされた人物の中に犯人がいて、その人物は最初うまいこと死んだふりをして俺たちをやり過ごした。そして赤での死亡宣言がないまま俺たちには死んだと思い込ませた。そして南條先生を殺し、その後に何かの理由で死んだ。そしてその後にエヴァが赤で死亡宣言を出す。以上の仮説でも南條先生の事件は説明できる。
Well, that's what I'm saying. How's that, Beatrice? Well, I don't know. I feel like she's gonna, say that it's not true. When you forcefully asked that question, there was a terrible sound that could only be likened to that of a compressor. And a blue stake as thick as a log appeared from under the earth and skewered the golden witch Beato, pulling her up into the air. Huh? She can't block that one? Ugly tearing sounds rang out one after another, and each time a blue stake or wedge appeared and impaled Beatrice's body. When that finally ended, her tragic form was exposed there, pin-cushioned by more than 10 stakes and wedges all over her body and dripping with blood, dangling and crucified. Oh my god. No, that is... That's quite a brutal scene. I don't know. There was none of the dignity of the brutal witch who had sneered at the honor of the dead and toyed with and killed hundreds of the living. The rain, which had started falling at some point, quietly tormented the crucified witch. As Battler heaved with his breathing, he waited for some kind of answer from the golden witch. Although it wasn't long, it took the witch at least a little bit of time before she showed any signs of life.
痛えよ。
自業自得だぜ。お前が殺めてきた人々の痛みの一部を思い。
Even as he said that, he seemed Battler had lost a little of his forcefulness at this extremely pitiful sight. He couldn't help but avert his eyes from a woman exposed in such a brutal fashion, even if she was his enemy. But even so, unless he destroyed Beatrice, the battle wouldn't end.
バトラー、頼むよ。
Huh? Beato let out a sob.
痛えよ。すげえ痛えよ。終わらせて。終わらせて。
I don't know what's happening.
これでもまだ死ねねえんだよ。こんなに痛いのにまだ死ねねえんだよ。
Like she's unable to physically die?
俺に何を求めやがる。
終わらせて。この苦痛から。
Beato's expression was a soggy mess of blood and tears. Certainly, Battler had been tricked by her at one point, so he could probably have suspected her expression and even her tears of being an act. However, Battler believed those tears. After all, those tears had the rid of truth mixed in with them.
どうすりゃいい？どうすればお前の痛みを終わらせられる？
今からすべてを晒すから。それがわらわの心臓。
A heart?
心臓。
ロシ
ベアト。
殺してもう死ぬせて。
I can't tell. I can't understand this. What's happening? It seems like Beato was ready to die, to let herself be killed. But is it true? Just like what we were thinking before. Is it all just an act? Is this true? I don't know. It doesn't even feel like Beatrice anymore, and I'm just really confused. Or those tears of pain and torment, or else. Either way, that pitiful expression was painful for a battler to look at, even after burning with such anger.
早くヘンゼのところに帰ってあげ。
帰るためじゃない。お前の痛みを止めるために。
ありがとう、バトラー。
With her last breaths, Beato summoned up all of her remaining strength and managed to close both of her hands into fists. A red light began to gather at those fists. Then she lifted her arms as though wishing for something from the heaven.
バトラなら殺せるから。私のすべて、心臓を潰して。
heart. I don't understand it, but even in episode 3, I believe, her heart seemed to be quite important. And more than that also, Ginzo did talk about hearts and furniture. Hearts being something important, I think. The red light around both her arms got stronger and stronger. She got that far into the word, and then her face tilted to the side a bit. Her right arm lost its light and flopped down. But her left arm alone did not lose its light and remained held up towards the heavens. The left arm. Then, before Battler's eyes, another Beato appeared with a faint form, transparent like a curtain. The crucified Beato had already lost consciousness. However, the newly appeared faint Beato quietly looked at me, and her expressionless eyes, and spoke in an uncharacteristically polite tone. That is so different. What? What?
それで
そしてたった今、この島にはあなた以外、誰もこの島で生きているのは、あなただけです。島の外の存在は。
I understood. This was the only thing left keeping Beatrice a witch. The final mystery. Huh? And Beato was holding it out to me, entreating me to solve her final mystery and kill her. No, what? What is he talking about?
来いよ。お前の最後の謎。
この島に、あなたはたった一人。そしてもちろん、私はあなたではない。なのに私は今ここにいて、これからあなたを殺します。
I'm confused. Or, well, rather than confused, I'm just shocked at this turn in events.
南條先生殺しの謎の強化版ってわけか。それで。
私は誰？
Huh?
それがお前の最後の出題なのか。
I just got chills.
私は誰？
What? Then Beatrice... No! No, it's so fast! I'm not even clicking anything. My piece left a game board? What? What do you mean by that? What do you mean your piece left a game board? You just died like that? Wait, I don't get it. I don't. Battler died on the 10th. Twilight. And she died in 1998. I just got chills reading that. Maria is a 10th. Twilight. Huh? Wait, both? 10th? Twilight? No. Is that possible? I don't know. Maybe? I'm just gonna read it. and all the goats. Okonogi, Amakusa, and Kasumi. Fourth game, Alliance of the Golden Witch. Result. Result. Please, result. No result. Huh? Wait, no result. Have I just been imagining things or did I miss it? But the ending still gave me chills, for sure. And I'm gonna go and replay that part because I honestly I don't get it. Welcome to the tea party of the unhuman. Oh, unknown fragment something. That is such a long number, and I always get creeped out when I see text. Scattered over the big bed were cute jelly beans of various colors and chocolate coins. Chocolate coins? Kind of disgusting, not gonna lie. A fork was stuck into the shortcake peeking out of a gift box, and there were decanters with drinks of various colors lined up on the side table. This was where Eva found herself. Where are we? But the venomous color of the drink poured into the glass matched none of the decanters. Someone had probably been playing around mixing them together. The taste aside, that was a lot of fun to do. On top of the fluffy bed were several colorful big pillows stuffed with dreams. Oh? What the heck? And on this big bed that looked like something out of a child's dream world, Brancasto lay face down, and Lambda Delta lay face up, hugging a pillow and relaxing. Now, this I did not expect at all.
今回はなかなかハラハラしたわね。ベアトがゲームやめるとか言い出して、かなり焦ったわ。
これだけのゲームを始めておいて、投げっぱなしで終えようとするなんて、失礼な魔女よね。
エンジェ、いい駒だったじゃない。とんずらしたベアトを引きずり戻して、ゲームを再開させてくれたわ。バトラをやる気にさせすぎちゃったのは、さすがに参ったけどね。
バトラは情に弱いって分かってたから。
確かに。あいつ、敵であるベアトにも手加減しかねない雰囲気があったわね。
前回の流れから下手するとベアトに同情しておかしな方向にゲームを流すかもしれないって危惧してたの。
An odd direction, she says.
エンジェはバトラがゴールを誤解した時に再誘導するための切り札よ。本当はもっとサポートさせてそれから切りたかったんだけどね。いきなり切らされたわ。仕込みに随分かかった駒なのにもったいなかった。
例の名乗っちゃダメルール、枷にしておいてよかった。あれを設けなかったら兄弟タッグ大活躍でベアとはあっという間に飲み込まれてゲームエンドだったわ。
一気に畳みかけるチャンスかと思ったんだけど、あんたのマークがきつくてうまくいかせなかったわ。ああ、もったいない駒だった。
I'm having trouble following this conversation.
当然でしょ。あんなずるい駒とっととリタイアしてくれないと困るわ。まあ結果的にゲーム中断を阻止する活躍をしてくれたし、それは私にとっても助かることだった。互いの利害が一致する活躍をしてくれたという意味においては本当に素晴らしい駒だったわよ。
バトラと同じで単純な子だったから簡単に私の言いなりになってくれたわ。駒にするならバカか直情型よね。ああ、本当に惜しい駒だったわ。
その子も今じゃひき肉ねえ。 後で一緒にそれでハンバーグ作りましょうよ。
I'm really not following this.
餃子の方が好きだっけ？妹味ってどんな味かしら？笑える。
あんたそんな余裕でいいの？エンジェのおかげでバトラは奮起。ベアと猛追し始め、今やだいぶ私が有利なゲーム展開だと思うけど。
Oh yeah, that's true because Spring Castle is supposed to be on Battler's side.
というかバトラ、今回でこれまでのほとんどの謎を解いちゃったんじゃない？
はあ？とんでもない。
Really?
バトラの青き真実なんてほとんど外れてるわよ。
No way.
ベアとのぬるい赤なんて隙間だらけだもの。多少は知恵の回る子だったら適当にへりくつ並べりゃ簡単にすり抜けられるわ。ああ、本当にイライラしたわよ。私だったらどれもこれも徹底的に赤で切り返してるわ。
あら、そう、私はてっきりあれらが正解だと思ってたわ。小型爆弾を飲み込ませてうんぬんはさすがにどうかと思ったけど。
バトラの青き真実だって全部が有効になってはいないわ。ベアとは第一のゲームにおいて身元不明死体についてその身元を全て保証すると。これによりバトラのエヴァ秀吉の密室殺人の犯人は偽装死体を演じた何者かと。次にボイラー室のカノンは事故死だったろうとしてるけど自分の胸に杭が突き刺さっちゃう事故って何よ。
I mean, the devil's proof, right?
ばっかじゃない？
No, don't call that dumb.
私が赤き宝刀とやらで切ってやるわよ。カノンは事故死ではない。その次の客間での源氏たち3人の殺人の時計回りに同時に射殺して死に合ったとかいう相打ち殺人も滑稽だわ。
I could see it happening though.
源氏、熊沢、南條は殺人者ではない。最後の夏日殺しのトラップ X もバカバカしいわ。
Okay, hold on. But just to clarify, well, I guess Lambda couldn't hear me anyway. But if Nanjo, Genji, and Kumasawa were not killers, does she mean not killers in the entirety of the first game, or just in that one specific scenario? You know?
夏日を射殺したのはトラップじゃなく、ちゃんと銃を構えて引き金を引いてしっかり射殺したのよ。
Now, well, for Natsuhi's case, then I don't really know what happened then.
ご愁傷様。
あんたダメよ、そんなこと赤で言っちゃ。あの子夏日の銃弾を魔法で跳ね返して殺したってことにしてるんだから。
あらあら、いけない。そうだったわね。第2のゲームの青き真実だって甘すぎよ。礼拝堂での6人の殺害時、犯人は礼拝堂内にいたわ。
But didn't Beatrice cut that down?
あいつ何でもかんでもトラップ X で説明しようとするわよね。トラップ X って何よ。変なミステリー小説のお約束。使用人室で南條と熊沢が殺された事件のカノンの名前を世襲したとかいうのも滑稽だわ。カノンの名を名乗ることができるのは本人のみ。異なる人間が名乗ることはできない。
Really? I don't know.
夏日の部屋のローザからマスターキーを借りたという推理もダメダメ。ローザがマスターキーを管理して以降、それら全ては一度たりとも彼女の手を離れていない。
Oh, I see. That's what I said. Now I remember what I said for Natsuhi's room. That Rosa was working with an accomplice. But since Rosa none of them ever left Rosa's hands. In this case, well, if you want to use the master key thing, then Rosa would have to be the culprit.
夏日の部屋を開場した時にバトラに貸し出した際を除いてね。まだまだ続くけど、ざっと軽く見てもこんな感じかしら。
軽くも何も、あんた第1と第2のゲームにおけるバトラの青き真実。あらあら、なんてこと。バトラがそれを聞いたらそっとしちゃうわね。
ねえ、ベアとは全然追い詰められてなんかいないのよ。あの子やっぱりなかなかの役者だわ。きっと今回のゲームでは一見追い詰められたふりをしてみせて、次のゲームあたりでバサーッと赤で一刀両断にしてバトラをびっくり仰天させる作戦でしょうよ。それできっとまた大笑いしながら言うんだわ。魔女はピンチになんかなりませんって。
じゃああのベアとの追い詰められたみたいな悲壮感は全部演技なの？
そうに決まってるじゃない。あいつ本当に大女優よね。全然追い詰められてなんかいないのに、最終回顔負けのクライマックス感だったわ。
Really? It wasn't an act? I mean, it was an act?
今年の助演女優賞はあいつに決定ね。ああ、もちろん主演は私だけど、ベルンでもいいわよ。
私を殺してみたいなことを言って最後に大きな謎を出したわよ。それを解かれたらベアとは今度こそおしまいの背水の陣じゃないの？
やだ、ベルンまで騙されてるの？あんなの背水の陣でもなんでもない。ベアとはね、まだまだどぎつい奥の手を温存してるわ。最後の謎を出すために両腕を突き出した時、右腕だけ下ろしたの気づいてた？
Yes, yes I did.
ああ、そういえばあれはそういう意味だったわけ。
そういうわけ。
What? What?
あの子はまだまだ奥の手を残してる。そして何も謎は解かれちゃいない。それをまるで全て完歩されて次回最終回みたいなテンションにしちゃうなんて。つくづくあの子は演技の天才よ。ああ、早くバトラをどん底に叩き落とすところが見てやりたいわ。あの子前回のゲームの北風と太陽作戦ですっかり味を占めちゃったんじゃない？
Not that again, please, God, not that again.
バトラ、きっとまたベアトに同情してコロッと引っかかるわよ。女の涙は一粒で男を騙せるからね。
バトラ、またその手に引っかかっちゃうかしら。二度と同情しないように私もバトラを焚きつけないと。当分は演者のひき肉で焚きつけられそうだけどね。
エンジ味のハンバーグでパワーアップ？もちろんこっちも負けないわよ。ここからバトラと拮抗するくらいに盛り返せるようベアトを徹底的にサポートするもの。負けないわよベアトは。負けたら素敵な罰ゲームがあるわよって。
あんたの罰ゲーム本気でシャレにならないから少し加減した方がいいわよ。
ベルに次に罰ゲームをできるときはこうしようって決めてるのがあるの。聞きたい聞きたい。
嫌よ。
もう聞いてよ。あのねベルを素敵なお城に閉じ込めてあげるの。
Sorry, but that kind of sounds like what Kinzo would say.
そのお城は真っ白な純白の城壁に囲まれていて、一辺は12km、高さは10mあるの。魔法とズルは禁止。とても飛び越せないわよね。
14億4000万竜兵。
Oh my god, that math is too fast.
話のうちが読めたからもういいわよ。
そこをね、毎日一粒ずつの宝石で埋めていく それで城壁いっぱいに溜まるまでベルンを閉じ込めて、その宝石で埋め殺すの。素敵なロマンチックな罰ゲームでしょ。
Well, I think that both Lambda and Castle need to chill a little bit.
一辺を5倍にしていいから高さを10分の1にしてくれたら今から閉じ込めてもいいわよ。
ほんと？36億竜兵になるわよ。罰ゲームが倍以上の期間になるわよ。そんなにも長い間虜になってくれるのね。ベルン大好き。愛してる。
Lambda Delta playfully clung to Castle, who yawned, looking bored as she stroked Lambda Delta under the chin as though playing with a cat.
ベルンはバトラの勝利にかけてて、私は二人が永遠に引き分けになるのにかけてる。それで誰かベアとの勝利にはかけてないの？
かけないわよ。勝率0だもん。
Really?
奇跡の魔女に奇跡ゼロって言われるのも本当にお気の毒。私もかけないけどね。絶対。
絶対の魔女に絶対ダメって言われるのもお気の毒ね。
And usually for them, they giggle together.
このゲームどういう決着に終わるかしら。
さすがにそれだけは読めないわ。だから楽しいわけだし。
もう逃げも中断も許さない。絶対にゲームを続けさせる。逃がさない。これからどんな風に展開していくのか想像もつかないけれど、絶対にありえない決着の仕方だけはわかるわ。
ベアトが勝って終わることだけはないわね。
だって私もベルンもどっちもベアトの勝利にかけてないんだもん。つまりベアトが勝ちそうになったら私たち二大魔女を敵に回すことになる。
そういうことね。私たちの力が最も均衡するのは引き分けとバトラ有利の中間で均衡している場合のみ。ベアト有利に傾きすぎれば私たちは共に同じベクトルに団結してベアトを引きずり戻す。
つまりベアト優勢になった瞬間、私たち二人をまとめて敵に回すってことよ。
So even though Lambda is on Beato's side, she still doesn't want Beato to win, and that ultimately things will still be in Balor's favor?
ベルンと共闘楽しい。
ありがとう。でもコンペイトーのお風呂には一緒に入らないわよ。
コンペイトーのシャワーを浴びながらとろけたマシュマロを塗りたくってあげるのに。
気の毒にあの子は私と遊ぶためにラムダが捕まえてきた生きたおもちゃ、お人形だわ。
私お人形遊びは上手なの。ほんと上手に遊べるのよ。飽きずに一つのおもちゃで何百年も遊べるのが自慢なの。
ある時は味方し、ある時は敵対し、
Oh,
永遠にもてあそび続ける。かわいそうにね。あの子はもう私たちのお人形。
そういうことよ。あの子は私たちのお人形。私たち二人の望む末路しか用意されてない。つまり私によって永遠に引き分けが繰り返されるか。
no. I was wondering who this her referred to, but are they talking about Beatrice?
ベルンによってベアトが敗北して滅ぼされるかでしか終わらないと断言できる。ベアトが勝って終わるようなことは。
奇跡の魔女として宣言するわ。
なら私は絶対の魔女として宣言するわ。 レアとは絶対に勝利できない。そして奇跡は絶対に起こらない。
Oh my god, this scared me. Why does Lomna have to look at me with such big, scary eyes? Oh, now I'm scared. Well, that was a really short, question mark thing. Well, that freaked me out still. But I'm still wondering if the person that they're talking about is about Beato. They captured a living doll. Anyway, I'll fast forward. I'll see you guys after this. Oh. The Golden Land? This is a Golden Land. I'm gonna look at the character menu actually, and the tips menu. Maybe the character menu first. Episode 4. Oops. Didn't mean to execute Battler, but, well. Missing, bound for hell in the witch's embrace, but to the witch that hell is the Golden Land. What does that even mean? The Battler was meant to go to the Golden Land in any case? Huh. Well, maybe I can execute him twice? No, I can't. I just want to look. Yeah, the witch's side has more people. Angie side. It's the same people. Eva can't be executed. Oh, no one here can be executed. Even though I'm really curious to find out what happened to Kasumi in the end. The witch's side can be executed. Wait a minute. Oh, I just realized there's someone new here. I didn't even realize. Jester 556. A weapon of the Sisters' cavalry, which serves Pendragon. Although 556 was a quiet girl who was always being teased, she was loved by everybody. However, luck was not on her side, and she suffered a brutal death in a battle with the Black Witch. She was a state-of-the-art weapon and added color to the Sisters' cavalry, which had the strong flavor of an honor guard. 556 was in charge of squad fire support. She shot not to kill, but to protect her allies. It sounds... Can we resurrect 556? We cannot. Oh, we can! Oh! Huh. Always being teased by everyone, but that is because they all love her very much. The trumpet is her speciality. Everyone skips her lively tone. I wonder if 556's death caused the other Chester sisters to kind of, you know, be less empathetic. I mean, it seems like 556 seems like a good person. And even Double seems like a good person. Well, 410 and 45, I'm not sure. That's so surprising. I know they talked about 556 in the story, but it was very, very briefly. I'm actually surprised that they placed her here. I don't want to execute other people. Can I execute them? Did they die? No, the unexecutable people can't be executed. Well, except 556, I guess. Huh, this is so interesting. I think this is new. Was it not? The Endless Witch who had lived for 1,000 years possesses the fatherly magical power to grant endless evolution to the sea. However, that power is meaningless. The Sea of Zero is nothing but zeros, no matter how they are multiplied. But once one was miraculously born into that sea, her world became infinite. Huh, well that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Once she was joined with the Witch of Origins in Mirage Source here, their system of magic obtained endless expansion and infinite power. So they're saying when she came into contact with Maria, she became infinitely more powerful. Is it not? Sorry to execute you, but I'm gonna execute you, Beatrice, if I can. I cannot. I don't think anyone else in the witch's site can be executed. Oh, never mind. This is the standard Maria. This is the witch Maria. And she... Yes, isn't that... We read this one before. So she gave birth to one from the Sea of Zero. It's so... I don't know. So crazy. It gives me chills when I read it. About her and Beatrice's relationship. It seems very sweet. And for Enji? Yeah, we cannot execute. I'll try executing everyone that execute. Shinzo? No. Sekatara we already executed. I doubt any one of them can be executed. We tried those already. Yeah, okay. Witch's side, the only one that could be executed was Maria and Chester 556. Although I do wonder why executing Maria gives her the Witch of Origins. You know, it could have been Resurrect that gave her the powerful status as a witch. Instead, you have to kill her to progress. Oh, that's something interesting anyway. Back to the human side. We already seen Battler's one. Hinzo, as always, burnt corpse. We've seen this one already. Krauss. We've also seen this one already. I'm gonna try and double execute everybody. Oh, witnesses don't believe that she was killed with a gun. So what does Beatrice mean? You grasp this method in the palm of your hand. What does it mean? And on top of that, what Brancasta alumna was saying, it might not even be connected, but they were talking about her right arm for some reason going down. And then Beatrice has always been thinking about the palm. Battler speculated that it may have been some type of poisoning, most peaceful method of inviting a person to the Golden Land. Both Maria and Battler died on the 10th twilight. Well, I think that's all of them for the characters. Everything else we have seen already. Alright, I'll go through everything in this menu because some of it I may have gone over a while back already, but I'm gonna go and refresh my memory and I'll read them through with you. Mariage, Sorcier, a witches alliance formed by Lady Maria, the Witch of Origins, and Lady Beatrice, the Endless Witch. The two of them created a groundbreaking new system of magic, thereby granting Beatrice, whose magical power had begun to decline, immense new magical power. You could probably say that it was through the formation of this alliance that Beatrice gained the endless power in the true sense. Article 1 requires members to accept each other as witches and respect each other's magic. At this one point, young Enji was invited into the alliance, but she was later excommunicated. Because I know she didn't believe in it, she thought it was ridiculous, so Maria was probably hurt by it and kicked her out. A system of magic. It is a foundation upon which to create magic. In particular, it refers to a system by whose shared usage magic power can be gained without conscious effort.
You could say that writing down their own system of magic and leaving it to future generations is one of a witch's life works. However, systems of terrific magical power are correspondingly difficult to comprehend, and shared usage of them is troublesome. As a result, none will appear to bear the burden. What? If a system's magical power is simple, there will likely be no difficulty sharing it. But as a result, the system will be reduced to having no greater effect than a simple good luck charm and will ultimately be forgotten. Leaving a system of magic for later generations while simultaneously maintaining that balance is the true joy of witchcraft. I can't say I really understand this system of magic, even after having to read this. If anyone would like to clarify, feel free to do so. Grimoire, in short, a grimoire is that into which a system of magic is written down and transmitted to later generations. The most famous grimoire in the world today has a 2,000-year history, is still in circulation, and is said to be continuing to acquire new alliance members even now. It is forbidden to speak the true name of that grimoire, and it is simply called the book. I'm curious to see if this is actually like real, or something that's just in this universe. Beatrice's titles. As a witch, Beatrice holds the two titles of Endless and Golden. Because these are originally titles from separate systems of magic, it can be said that she possesses two systems. The Endless Witch has its foundation in endless creation, and it is the root of her unmatched endless magical power. The Golden Witch has its foundation in magic realization, and her magical power to make the precious metals of fantasy manifest in reality gives the miracle of manifestation to all faint forms of magic. I don't really get it, but, well, I guess gold, people want to make gold out of magic, right? Although that's probably not what they're talking about. The two of them were polished even further through Mariage Sorcier, elevating them to a system of magic called Endless Realization. In that sense, she should now be called neither the Endless nor the Golden Witch, but by a new title that is a fusion of the two. Regarding witches, the definition of a witch is vague, but the most accepted theory is that one is a witch at the point when they gain a power surpassing humans and are able to use it freely. And the world, or possibly fragments, in which that can be freely used is called their territory. Most witches cannot leave their territory, but those who are capable of transcending its boundary at will and wandering the fragments are called voyagers. In the story, Burn Castle and Lambda Delta fall under this type as voyagers, right? Because it definitely doesn't seem like they belong in this fragment, or wherever we are at least. But Beatrice seems to be bound by Rakenjima, and even when we look at Engie or Beatrice, they also seem to be bound by that world. And regarding voyagers, worlds of different fates and circumstances are called fragments, and witches who are able to cross the ocean of endless fragments are called voyagers. It is also another name for a high-order, high-level witch, and witches who are unable to leave their territories cannot compare their power. So, Beatrice is weaker than them both? However, perhaps because they do not have specific territories, their personal values are unstable, and it is easy for their souls to become faint. As a result, it is not rare for voyagers to disappear like scraps of seaweed in the ocean of fragments. Their voyage has no endpoint, and perhaps you could even say that it is a journey to escape an endpoint. Witches of a higher order than voyagers are called creators. Oh, like Maria? Creators are sacred beings who can create one out of the sea of nothingness. They can give birth to one from zero, give birth to the endless, and then return it to zero again in the flesh. They are freed from all restrictions, and the voyagers sometimes even call them gods. In that sense, perhaps the Witch of Origins, Maria, who is promised to become a creator,
may be called a chosen one. Voyagers fear that the end of their own journey is to become a creator. As to why they would be frightened of evolving into a higher order being, none can understand except themselves. Huh. Well, then again, maybe that might tie back into why Maria had to be executed to unleash her form as the Witch of Origins. I don't know. I really don't know. Well, with that, we have finally concluded episode 4. And we have finished the question mark scene. We have finished the tea party, which was quite a blast, even though it was quite long. But it did have some brain thinking moments with Battler and Beatrice fighting. But then again, at the end of it, ultimately Lambda just kind of steps in and was like, no, you guys are stupid. Beatrice is hiding something. Battler is too empathetic and too nice. And once again, I feel a little bit tricked by what is happening. Well, to elaborate a little bit more, throughout the entirety of the tea party, it kind of felt to me like Beatrice was kind of putting on an act because she seems to really want Battler to destroy her. But at the same time, I can't really understand why she would want Battler to kill her. Although there might be reasons alluding to it, but it's not as clear-cut as it could be. It's just kind of hinted here and there that maybe something in the past happened and that she really wants to die because of it. But in the past 3-4 games, she has never expressed the desire to die. But in episode 4, she once again appeared a bit more human, if you want to say it that way, a bit more of an empathetic character. I've said this before, I believe, but Beatrice always comes across as a rather empathetic character, like the author wants you to empathize with her. But at the same time, she has also committed so many horrible crimes, killed so many people, and toyed with so many people's feelings that it's kind of hard for me to reconcile that part of her with the empathetic nature, or at least the light that is casted on her. Although I will say I am personally very soft-hearted, so it doesn't really take much for Beatrice to, make me forgive her. Or rather than forgive her, more like empathize with her. Or at least not look at her with such judging eyes, Still, I think that it was a very interesting tea party. Probably the most interesting one so far in terms of going through the theories at least. But I really enjoyed episode 4. Would it be my favorite episode? Now that's for you to find out on my tier list coming out next week. But I will say that it certainly did live up to my expectations. And I'm really excited to see what will happen in episode 5 onwards with the answer arcs. And I hope to see you guys there as well. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions that you'd like me to answer, I'll do my best to answer them. Put them in the comment section down below. I might also just answer them on stream. I'll anyway at the question and answer segment into my video next week, coming out next week. Yeah, just feel free to leave your comments down below, and if I can answer them, I will do my best. And anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!